welcome to episode 153 of Zapped to the Past. I am Adrian Mills, and I'm joined as always by Mr. Graham Raddings. If you haven't listened before, this is a podcast where we discuss games that were released for the Commodore 64. Last week, we looked at our first batch of games from issue 62 of Zap 64, which we are in no way affiliated with, and we're impressed with International 3D Tennis, felt conned by Carrier Command, and succumbed to boredom with Scramble Spirits. This week, we conclude our look at the games in June 1990, along with what was also lighting up our TV and cinema screens that month. Graham, did the games this week stay out of the black and into the red, or are they the shortest time someone's ever owned a trouser press?
We've reached the back end of June 1990 and found it somewhat full of dusty old arcades. So in a month that also saw members of the rap group 2 Live crew get arrested in Florida for obscenity, we head off across time and space in as small a size as possible as we kill everything we can find in the tiny world of Time Soldier, and then we head across some more miniature landscapes, this time following the arrows and defrosting OAPs in the Diddy world of Black Tiger. Ah, the Arcade Obscura is a funny old place, blending genres with a combination of dreariness and dust. Crazy. More arcade conversions, you say? Okay. We also climb into our tiny car for a tiny drive around a tiny track, and at a snail's pace too. How can we contain all that potential fun? Good question. We aim to check in Hot Rod. We also take a discordant medium-res trip down 8-bit memory lane, only to find it malformed and stupid with our not-so-favourite Talpedy in Impossamole, before finally popping along to the arcade again, this time to experience the thrills of the finest bicolour Weetabix attack simulator yet made in Escape from the Planet of the Robot Monsters. We know the clock is ticking on the Commodore 64, but do we really have to take inspiration and licenses from the Indiana Jones Top Men warehouse section of the arcade? Come on! Fresh ideas needed, please. Well, yes, I don't know about the trouser press, but I don't know. Some people, when they got these, I think they'd have been unpleasantly surprised with them.
I'm just going to say that this episode might be the most mediocre.
Tiny? It's tiny. It's tiny sprites.
It's tiny and mediocre. This is just got, it's just straight through the middle. It's the middle of the road. It's just down there. It's like...
Well, yeah, I don't know about the middle of the road, but it's tiny sprite week, tiny sprites.
Yeah, there was a moratorium, I think, at the beginning of June. You can have no large sprites this time. No,
there was just a meeting, and there was I imagine it a bit like that meeting at the end of Casino. All the big game bosses go, the sprites are too big. You're making the sprites too big.
Make them smaller. My kids, they don't like big sprites. Hey, Muggsy, the sprites are too big.
You're making the sprites too big, Muggsy.
Is this better? Oh, look at that. You can barely see it. That's better.
They're making the sprites bigger in our games? Yeah, exactly.
That's because we're getting Jimmy 2 sprites to design them all.
Jimmy High-Res, yeah. High-Res Jimmy.
Throw him out. Get Blocky Joe on it. Anyway, yeah. So there are 5 games this week, and they
Blocky Joe.
Good old Blocky Joe.
Yeah.
And they are festooned with tiny sprites. I mean, Ninja Spirits was quite tiny, wasn't it, when we looked at that?
Yes, maybe they're heading that. Maybe they're all heading that way. This is a feature-packed episode of games with tiny sprites, and I almost want to say that each one gets tinier than the last.
But I was actually playing the last one through another lens over my screen, so I could see what's going on. Where is it? What am I shooting?
One of these games as tiny sprites, and possibly the most annoying scrolling in the world.
Oh, yes. I think I know the one you're on about.
All will be revealed.
There's a couple, actually, which have a bit of annoying scrolling, but yeah, I'm interested to see which one it is. So enough of this tiny sprite talk. I don't know if someone's going to get a trouser press. If for those who don't know, that's a niche pull.
Yeah.
You need to go to the
bullseye humour.
We're going to bullseye humour. You need to go to the bullseye. Was it Bullseye Contestants or Bullseye?
Yeah, Bullseye Contestant blog, isn't it? It's
Tumblr, it was an old Tumblr one, I think.
Yeah, Tumblr blog, yeah.
Yeah, you need to go there and have a look. And they've got the video on there, shortest time someone's ever owned a trouser press.
We'll find it and post it in the show notes links for you.
Absolutely. So we get on with some games, though. We've still got 5 to get through.
Let's go. Let's get on with them.
Let's get into them. All right. So that's the first one. And the first one, Graham, well, it's Time Soldier. Time Soldier. It's Time Soldier. Time for what?
It is.
I don't know.
It's Time Soldier. It's not Time Cop. It's Time Soldier, just so you know.
I've tasted your wife's bouillabaisse 100 times. You mean goulash? No, bouillabaisse. Anyway, it's a strange old thing, this. And a conversion of an arcade game I had never heard of.
That won't be the first time we say that.
This is a real, we've said this before, this is a real dive into the arcade obscure as far as I'm aware.
It really is.
I mean, there's not even a mention of this in the Arcade Imperfect book either.
No.
I had a look. It's not even mentioned in there. So this really is going to this is the corner of some long forgotten basement to find this. There's some chippy in Wakefield that had one of these. And that was it. God knows where it's at. This is Time Soldier. Now, originally this was Time Soldiers, plural.
Oh.
There's a reason for the loss of the plural to the home computer. So I will say, at least they've not, Bad Dudes, whatever it was, versus Dragon Ninjas, at least they have actually dropped the S.
Yeah, they've been honest about it.
They have been honest, yeah. Even more originally, though, in Japan, this was called Battlefield.
Okay.
For some reason. It was released by SNK in 1987 and originally developed by Alpha Denshi in the arcade.
Oh, one of theirs.
In Japan, Game Machine listed Time Soldiers on their November 15th, 1987 issue as being the second most successful table arcade unit of the month.
Oh, popular then, eh?
Alpha Denshi, where they were primarily associated with the SNK and developed games almost exclusively for them. They were close partners with SNK and helped to design the Neo Geo arcade boards and the Neo Geo AES. Well, if you didn't know.
Okay. No,
that's a system I know staggeringly little about.
No,
it's one of those systems I know very little about, like the Wonder Swan and things like that.
The what?
The Wonder Swan. You never heard of the Wonder Swan?
No, I haven't.
There you go.
Or if I have, I don't remember it, and I think I would.
It's a small handheld made by Gunpei Yokoi, if I remember rightly, or designed by him who did the Metroid and Game Boy.
Right, okay.
Anyway, all I remember is the Neo Geo thing was prohibitive costs. Prohibitive, very expensive. Anyway, in 1989, there was a Master System, Amiga, Atari ST, and C60 ports for some reason. And although it was released in 1989, it's taken until June to get a review of it in Zap. So it took some time, zigzagged through the Maya. I don't know what happened.
Okay.
Anyway, it's an odd thing. So this was produced by Smart Egg Software. They did 4 soccer simulators.
Great.
But different people. This was coded by Paul Rogers. He'll go on to do the C64 versions of Swiv and Double Dragon 3.
Okay.
He also did Spore, which we covered a while back. It was a Mastertronic one. It's got graphics by M. Is it? And R. Holmes. It's the only game listed for them on the C64. It's also got music by David Spicer. Who we've not come across him before either, not I'm aware of. There is a story to this, as ever. I'll read from the manual. The story so far. Guyland, conqueror of the galaxies, has turned his might towards Earth, determined to enslave its people. Johan and Ben, 2 of the 7 Earth commandos, penetrate Guyland's stronghold to discover his source of power and destroy him. Guyland detects their presence, enslaves them, and turns 5 of the commandos instantly into gleaming red balls, which are flung into the endless void of time, scattering them forever. Turning to Johan and Ben, the only 2 Earth commandos left, they hear Guyland's mocking voice. The tenses on this are all over the place, offering one slim chance of salvation and possible victory. You have done well to come so far, but can you survive my challenge of time? Find your friends and earn the right to face me. And then in brackets it says, for the planet. Just in case you didn't know, it's just letting you know. It's for the planet, this is what it's for. Now go, in capital letters. Guyland banished the 2 commandos to the waste of time to battle his monsters and search for their comrades. You must guide Johan, or Ben through the past and future. Survive and you'll face the final battle with evil Guyland. Win and free the world.
Okay, fair enough.
Why don't you just kill him?
Yeah.
I mean, why? And also as well, what does it say? Can you survive my challenge of time? Sounds like a game show. It sounds like Krypton Factor or something. I could see what's his face, the guy who did Krypton Factor, sort of hosting this, or Richard, him out of Crystal Maze. They'd do this anyway. The game itself's an odd one. Essentially, it's an Akari Warriors variant, at least in the arcade. So in the arcade, you could double team it, basically with Johan and Ben, which in but on the 664. although you have the option for 2 players, they play alternatively. And with the difficulty of this, it really would have been handy to have 2 players on screen at once, I think. So there is a loading screen, which kind of sets the tone for this game, as it has a guy with a laser gun facing off against a dinosaur. I think it's a velociraptor of some description. So it goes places, this game. It's not bad. It's not one of the great title screens, but it's all right. When the game loads, and just to say, we played, or at least I hope you did, we played the Easy Flash cartridge version of this, because the multi-load's a bit of a pain. So just to say, that's what we played. And we get a nice, to be fair, we do get a nice arcade-like title screen. There is a good front end to this. A big logo of Time Soldier comes bouncing up from the bottom in several bits, and we get the option of 1 or 2 players, which we can choose with left or right on the joystick. There's a high score table that alternates with the credits beneath this. Although, again, it's nice to see the credits scroll off the bottom and the credits, and the sort of high score come back on, and so vice versa. It's nice. Nice polish. There's evidence of some good polish here. And the music, well, it's not too bad either. It's not terrible, but it's pretty decent. It's okay. I didn't mind the music here. I'm not sure it really suits the game, but it's all right. Pressing fire, though, starts the game. The logo splits and scrolls off screen, and we get a short intro similar to the arcade, but a more C64 style, where we see the 5 tiny commandos turned into red orbs and scattered to time, and the obscure message, which is straight from the arcade: rescue your comrades who have been captured and forced to travel back to Guyland.
Okay.
What does that mean? I don't know what it means. I don't know. Anyway, if you'd come across this in the arcade, you'd have no clue what the hell a Guyland was. It kind of assumes you know what a Guyland is. What's a Guyland? It's not a word. It's not a thing.
It's a place.
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know. I still don't. Anyway, you get a message that you've been located. That someone has been, one of the characters has been located in the time warp scanner. One of them is waiting for your help, usually in the primitive age. And after that, we see our hero, Johan Alben, flying through time, a kind of weird time tunnel moment. Like it's weird sort of shoo, like a press the fire button sends them hurtling towards their destination into the screen through the time tunnel. Good bit of vertilage. Yeah, once we arrive, we're in more familiar territory. It's an Ikari Warrior style game. You control your little hero with the joystick in 8 directions, and pressing fire shoots in that direction. It's lost the dual move and aim control of the arcade, so there's no strafing while shooting, I'm afraid. And I always wondered whether they could have just implemented a hold fire and auto shoot while moving. Would that have worked in this situation? I don't know. Would that work to give you, I don't know, moving left and right while holding fire, and you could strafe, and then you let go of fire and you can turn, and then... Yeah, that would probably maybe have been better. Yeah, I just want that would have given you that kind of Ikari Warriors. Because it had an Ikari Warriors type control on the arcade, didn't it? Yeah, you could twist it, so you could walk in one direction, fire in another, exactly like Ikari Warriors, yes. Yeah, so I was wondering whether that could be sort of, you hold down the fire button, you start auto fire, and then you could strafe left and right. That might have worked. Yeah, we've seen it done in other games like that. Yeah, I think so. It doesn't do that here, so it actually plays more like Commando. It plays like Commando, really. As long as you're not playing it Commando. The objective of this game is to make your way through the levels, which, unlike Commando and Ikari Warriors, scroll in both vertical and horizontal directions at times. The game itself takes up the whole screen, which is nice. With the small sprites, the first of the tiny sprites, it gives plenty of room to run about in. The UI is kept minimal. It's got the score I think it's in the top right, along the power of any special weapon you may have below it. And in the top left, it tells you whether it's player 1 or 2, and the number of lives you have left under this denoted by a series of orbs. Good old orbs. Orbs. At the bottom of the screen is the name of the level you are in, and this is important, this bit, because if it's flashing red and white, then the hero you are trying to rescue is not in this present zone. But if the name of the level is flashing green and white, then the hero is in this zone. So you need to pay attention to that. So if they're not in the zone, then you battle your way to the midway point of the level. You kill a mini boss, which are actually surprisingly big compared to the tiny sprites, and then you'll get to a time portal, which you must enter. This will take you to another zone, hopefully where your comrade is. So you need to there's no point in fighting all the way through to the end because the bloke you're trying to rescue isn't there. If it is flashing green, carry on past the time portal and the level continues, and you can go away all the way to the end of the level where you face off against the main big boss. Should you kill them, then you have rescued one of your comrades and you can proceed to the next area to find the next one, and so on and so forth. There are 5 areas. I'm not quite sure how many mini areas there are because I don't know if they're all... I don't know. It's kind of a bit weird, this game, in the number of sort of levels and stuff. And you can... so you can head to, which have various zones within them. There's the primitive area. This, according to the instructions, this is the ancient Roman era, which seems to be part of the primitive area. So I'm not actually sure how this game works out. There's medieval Japan, World War III, Future World. And then if you get through all of those, then there is Guyland's Domain. So
okay,
it is what it is. It's a little confusing because you can start I've started in about 2 or 3, 2 places, and then you can be warped to somewhere else. So it's not linear. So the game doesn't seem to follow a linear path through the levels. And in some of them, you only need to get to the middle as the objective's not there. It's quite an interesting design, I think, for an arcade game in 1987 because of this non-linearity, I have to say. And it does work well. The C64 does it. I mean, it plays pretty much like the arcade game. It's got all the levels and the extras from it that I could see. There are power-ups to be collected, and these are always dropped by enemies that are red in every level. So, it's good to know to shoot first. They appear they're red. They're always red. Shoot them.
Yeah,
you can get triple shot, missiles, and lasers. And these all have 3 levels of power. So collecting them multiple times increases the power of them. So triple shot increases the distance, and then as your projectiles bounce around the screen. At the 3rd level, missiles increase the distance they can fire and then become more powerful at the 3rd level, and lasers become wider and gain more power at levels 2 and 3. And that's pretty cool. And it's all present here in the C64 version. There's also speed-ups and there are power-ups. Well, speed-ups are self-explanatory. They just make your tiny sprite whiz about even faster. Power-ups, they make you invincible, give you auto-fire of the special weapon you currently have. And this lasts for quite some time because each super weapon... the sort of like its ammo is in the top right and counts down with every blast you get. So if you pick up another version of it, it fills up again. So you can't just spam it. You have to sort of control your shooting a little bit. But if you get the power up, then you can fire it as much as you want. But then you don't need to have to because you can just run into enemies and kill them instantaneously. That's kind of a weird thing. It's like, I don't need to shoot anymore. So why is it infinite? I get it. I mean, okay, fair enough. But it's kind of a mix. It's like a double power up. I don't know. So that's the game, really. You run and gun. Except you shouldn't do that as you'll die quickly. It is not a game to be played at pace. And that may be something you like or you don't like. So you need to take this game methodically. Enemies are always in the same places and in the same waves. This is not random like Commando. And the push scrolling always allows you to take them on at your own pace. But even then, this doesn't make the game easy. It's quite a tough game, this. Not totally unfairly so. I was getting quite far once I learned to take my time with it. The graphics a bit on the tiny bitty side. They're not as good as the C64 version of Commando or Ikari Warriors or even Who Dares Wins. That we've certainly slipped into a tiny bitty sprite period for some reason. But the game, runs smoothly, decent pace. There's no slowdown or flicker that I could see. Maybe there is in some bits and some of the bigger bosses, but I didn't notice any. Some of the end bosses are pretty impressive in size and the speed at which they move.
Yeah, I thought that.
The second mid-level boss on the prehistoric area is kind of a big rolling beetle, which was really good and it moves around quite good. And they put up a decent but fair challenge. They're not dead hard, but they're challenging. They're all right. Sounds are okay. There's some good interstitial tunes, nothing outstanding, decent sound effects through the levels. I wish there'd been some music in the levels themselves, though, as they can feel a little empty at times. And waiting for the next wave of enemies to appear with little to do or listen to, it just gets a bit dull. That's the problem with this game, just a bit dull. Some music to keep us going would have worked wonders here to liven the atmosphere. And that's really my main criticism of the game. It's a bit on the dull side, and it's not helped by the stop-start nature of it. So playing the disc version, you have every level loads in separately, kills the speed of the game. We saw it with TV, sports, football, and other games of this ilk. If you want an arcade game, it needs to be pacey. Power Drift solved this. It needs to be pacey. This won't be the first time we see this. The last time we see this week.
No.
But then when you die as well, to compound that, there's an annoying pause for several seconds for some reason where everything stops. It's like, get me back in the bloody game, and then you reappear.
Yeah.
It's good. One of the good things, you don't lose your power-ups when you die. That's quite nice. But the pause, the slow speed of this, the multi-load, it's a real killer for this version. There's quite a lot to the levels. They are pretty big, but there are no continues. And having to work your way through those early levels time and time again, because it's all slow and a bit chuggy, it becomes a bit mature after a while, because the atmosphere is just dead. And that's a problem. It's a shame, because the design of this is quite good, and it plays okay. It's just after a while, you yearn for something with a bit more life. 79% it got, probably about right, maybe a little. I think it's a decent conversion of a rather dull arcade game, because but you can now play the Easy Flash version. It gets rid of some of those annoyances, but not all. But back then, I could see the tape version of this being a real pain to endure. Still, it's an okay conversion of a relatively obscure but relatively dull and not particularly dead interesting game. It's just maybe hampered by the machine's memory, I guess. I didn't mind this. It's just, we've seen this a lot. Just put some bloody music in the things to liven it up. I don't know how many times we have to say it. I don't know. But there you go. It's okay. What about you?
Principally the same experience, really. I noted that Paul Rogers has put a comment in Lemon in the little commentaries.
Yeah,
he said,
did, yeah.
personally thought the huge sprites were good. I thought the huge sprites were good, actually. The big dinosaur thing was pretty good.
Yes.
This feels like actually quite a competent conversion of the game. It's not going to impress anybody graphically, it has to be said, but there is quite a lot in it and quite a lot of graphics in it. It's missing some of the stuff from the arcade, though, isn't it? The 2-player. It's missing the sort of control systems. So it does make it a bit more of a shoot 'em up, really.
Yeah.
And I suppose I know that's what it is, but I mean, a more formalized shoot 'em up. The things that make it that give it the little differences aren't really here. They're in the arcade. So that's, I think, why it gets a bit mundane, because it doesn't have those. The upgrade tree was quite interesting, and the things as you upgrade, you need to do them because you'd be dead within seconds if you don't, especially later on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it is a bit unforgiving, and the loading, I tried both versions, the loading is just horrific. So thank God for the cartridge version, really, because I don't think it's really that playable. I found it quite disruptive, but I'm finding out with a lot of these games. I don't know if that's something to do with me or whatever. I thought, like I said, some of the graphics I thought were good. The main sprites, okay, they're a little bit on the sort of, I guess, miniature side is that's the theme of this week. But there's quite a lot on the screen. There's quite a lot going on. There's quite a lot to think about. And it's the whole screen. So you're not playing this in a little mini game window. This is the whole screen. And that's quite nice to see things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I quite liked what I played. But the problem is, as you've stated, it's just not very exciting.
No.
And the arcade suffered from the same thing. I went and had a look at the arcade on YouTube, and the arcade looked, I mean, it's got its fans, I have to tell you. Time Soldier seems to, but a lot of these arcades seem to have a very niche audience.
It always will.
But it looked, I mean, it just looks a bit dreary. It's kind of a bit gauntlet. It's a gauntlet across with the Car Warriors and setting, and I like the idea of the time zones, and although I didn't have the clue what was going on when I disappeared. And when the game starts, like you say, it's about 3 different things happening at once. You're like, what's going on? Just start the game and stop throwing text at me in weird statements. But when I got into the game, I got quite far in it, actually. I'm not sure how, but I did. And I quite enjoyed what I'd played. I quite liked the speed of the gameplay in this one. It's a bit dreary because it doesn't vary very much, but the game works at the right kind of pace. And there's enough to shoot at on there. There's good stuff going on. It is just a bit dreary. But is it a good... It would be a good C64 game if it had slightly better loading and better... and just manage that process a little better than just making it big chunks of loading all the time. So, and on tape, I cannot imagine what it's like, but I thought it was all right. What score did it get in Zap? It was
79.
It's probably about right for what it is.
Yeah.
It's all right, but it's, as we've said so many times, an average conversion of an arcade is just going to get you an average. An average arcade begets an average conversion of an arcade. Yeah. They've done a competent job, but it's still a pretty dreary arcade all said and done. So, okay, that's it.
Yeah, there we go. That's the first one. That's Time Soldier, not Time Soldiers. Let's carry on. We still have one more game this part.
We do.
And it's over to you. And Graham, tell us all about being Black Tiger.
Dun, 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 dun. US Gold brought you this wonderful creation. 64% it got. Copyright Capcom. That means you know what it means. It's another arcade conversion, yes. While we were down the old Arcade Obscura, down the Isle of Shite, we thought we'd take a scanty glance at this bloody thing. Although actually, it turns out this is quite a popular arcade, another one that's got kind of a bit of a cult following.
Yeah.
Anyway, this particular version is developed by Softworks. That means it was coded by James Doyle. He did Master Blaster. Do you remember Master Blaster?
Oh, vaguely.
And Mark
Very
Hughes,
vaguely.
he also did Master Blaster. The graphics are by Peter Wolf and Stephen Chandler. I think this is the one thing they did. The musician Mark Tate, and the box art Peter Andrew Jones. So Black Tiger is also known in Japan as Black Dragon, or as Hepboom Baraku Doragon.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Klaatu Barada. It's a hack and slash platform game released for the arcades by Capcom in 1987. 1987?
Yeah, I think he was as well. Well, I think he was.
That's because they were in the same corner of the arcade.
Yeah.
In Japan, Game Machine listed the game on their October 15th, 1987 issue as being the 6th most successful table arcade unit of the month.
Yeah.
Table arcade unit of the month. So, but this one has continued its life. There's an emulation of the arcade game included in the compilations Capcom Classics Collection Remix for the PlayStation Portable and Capcom Classics Collection Volume 2 for PlayStation 2 and Xbox. The arcade version of Black Tiger was released on the Wii Virtual Console in Japan in 2010, and then at 2011 in North America, and I guess probably over here. The game is also included as the initial game in Capcom's arcade cabinet for the PlayStation Network and Xbox Live Arcade as of 2013. Probably not anymore.
No.
And the game is one of 32 available in Capcom's Arcade Second Stadium that was released on July 22nd, 2022. All the twos, 22.
Ooh.
So this game is still out there.
Yeah, it is.
Crazy, isn't it? Let's have a quick but we'll dive into the story of this. Prepare yourself for this one.
Okay.
Long ago, 3 evil dragons descended from the skies and brought a nightmare of darkness and destruction to a once peaceful kingdom.
Oh.
From this suffering emerged a powerful and brave warrior who fought against the demonic dragons and demons to restore law and order in his homeland. He was known only as the Black Tiger. Enter a sinister fantasy world of endless and absorbing action. In other words, it's like saying etc. at the end of it. And fantasy shit happened. The end.
Is a goblin here, probably.
It's just like, can you imagine if you summarize Lord of the Rings like that? Yeah, it's a ring and something happens in a mountain. I don't know.
Something about an eye.
Now, interestingly, the arcade manual for Black Tiger has just got. It's the only reason I mention this is because it made me laugh. There's no explanation about what the game is about, apart from it just says Black Tiger. Black Tiger is a powerful warrior armed with a mighty weapon. I mean, you don't get much more vague than that, do you? Anyway.
You're right.
You're right. Anyway, so the gameplay then. The game consists of stages in which you destroy various fantasy-oriented opponents. And get this, and you also collect Zenny coins. Zenny coins, Adrian.
Zenny?
Zenny coins. I like to call them tiny dots, but Zenny coins is what they are.
Are they any good? They're as good as Zenny.
Hey. Hey. You can also collect, so you collect Zenny coins, open treasure chests with keys, and break open containers that hold either treasure or villains. There are a number of old men frozen along the way who may reward you if you free them. Some give you clues to the game, others give you more playtime, money, or vitality potions, while some allow you to buy weapons, armor, keys, and potions. Novelties, party tricks. After you save an old man, he will disappear. Saving Zenny coins allows you to purchase various items as you progress. If you buy one of the 4 weapons available, a weapon power number appears next to the appropriate icon at the foot of the screen. You automatically throw several knives each time you use your weapon.
Okay.
Each stage ends with a major villain. You may encounter any of the following: Blockhead, blue dragons, spear-throwing demons, blue samurai dragons, red dragons, gold samurai dragons, or black dragons.
That's loads of dragons.
And I'm pretty sure they are all names of vibrators that you can get on Love Honey.
You're right.
Charge up your black dragon. Opening a treasure chest can reveal one of the following: an hourglass that gives you more time, a lantern, or gold. Take care, some contain fire columns that can damage you. They're stupid, those ones.
Yeah.
Bonuses are gained by collecting various characters. These include Capcom cows, elves, Capcom cows. Different from regular cows.
Capcom cows, that's quite hard to say fast.
It is. Capcom cows, elves, barrels, but they're not, are they Capcom elves? Barrels and stars.
Capcom stars.
Here is a list of minor villains you may encounter. Blockheads, rectangular chunks of stone that bounce around and try to squash you. Skeletons appear out of the ground and throw their heads at you. Can't be killed until fully animated. Blue Goblin tries to chop you with his battle axe. Bet he does. Spinning Skull, that can't be killed.
No, it can't.
Fire mummies, they spit fire. Audrey 2, that's a man-eating plant. It's just called an Audrey.
Yeah, that's from thinking it, Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah, and there's Audrey 3, poisonous variety of Audrey 2.
Okay, a piranha plant.
If you are poisoned by an Audrey 3 plant, you will not throw the knives. That's an unusual way for a potion to manifest, isn't it? Oh no, I've lost my ability to throw knives. What a weird poison. Anyway, the potions from the old man will cure you. Fire demons don't move; they just throw fireballs. If it can't throw fireballs as long as it says fire demons doesn't move, just throws fireballs at you. It can't throw fireballs as long as you keep hitting. Doesn't write words, but you can't have everything.
As long as you keep hitting what?
Exactly. Grim Reaper hags come in 2 varieties. One generates red fire columns and one generates blue frost columns. The blue frost column, reverse right and the left on your joystick. Both go ethereal when attacked. Ethereal! Spear-throwing dragons start out as a sphere, uncurls, and flies around throwing spears. I guess he does exactly what he says in the tin, that
Absolutely.
one.
He's a Ronseal dragon, that is.
And then after all of those things, fire mummies, skulls, blue goblins, spear-throw dragons, this next one is just birds. Birds.
They are a pain in the ass.
And they are, never mind the spear-throwing dragons. Get rid of them damn birds. They did my head in this game. They fall from various places when triggered by the player, bounce a couple of times, then disintegrate. Some of those didn't disintegrate. They followed you around and made a real annoyance of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, then there's vials, little blue blobs that bob around and try to touch you.
Show me where the vial touched you.
Just to give you the lowdown of all the blurb, really. Isn't that exciting?
That's very exciting.
So this was, like I said, an arcade. An obscure one I've never heard of, never in a million years. I haven't had a look on YouTube. And yes, there's versions of it on different formats. Okay, the Amiga one looks slightly better, but none of these arcades, there must be a whole batch of these kind of arcades that have got derivatives of the same kind of workflow as Ghosts and Goblins and Ghouls and Ghosts and all of that kind of thing. So this is similar to that. Not exactly the same, but similar. Anyway, the game starts with a crap title screen and really annoying music. That's not a good way to start anything.
It's no way to go through life, son.
It had an unforgivably blocky graphic at the top, which is meant to say Black Tiger, but it just looks like black there.
It is bad. I'm looking at it right now. I can't read it. If I didn't know it said Black Tiger, if you said what's that sound, I'd be like, don't know.
Well, I couldn't understand something because the text below it is suspiciously well shaded, like raster shades. Yeah. And the game itself features some quite nice pixel shading. Not amazing, but quite nice. Why didn't they put that in the logo? Why didn't they put any of that in the logo? It's just crap. It looks awful. It makes the game feel cheap anyway. That's what welcomes you when you start the game. Then there's loading. Loading happens in this game quite a bit. One of those. Loads of things loading in. Mm-hmm. And then you'll have counted how the game works. Now, basically, this game is just run around, follow the arrows, and find stuff and kill things.
Yeah.
That's this game. That's what it is. Mm-hmm. So, and periodically you'll get to a boss, you'll beat the boss. It's just that. That's all it is. Running around different levels at different heights, jumping up, falling off things, probably not always falling where you want because he has this really weird way of jumping and moving about.
Yep.
It's a little bit strange, all said and done. So you control the game itself with the joystick. It's just the standard directions. Up is up on the joystick. There's left, right, down, and the fire button is fire. You can sort of jump top right and do like an arc jump as well if you want to do that, I guess. Because if you want to climb or go up any of these kind of, I won't call them platforms. What do you call them? I suppose they are platforms, but
yeah, they're platforms.
Want to go up any of the scenery, then you're going to need to climb about. And if you're going to follow the arrows, not that the arrows always make sense, because you'll go up an arrow and you think, oh, it's pointing that way, and then you'll be like, I think that's a solid wall there. It's, oh yeah, of course, you meant the other side of that.
Yeah, I meant the other right.
Exactly. So you'll go up there. There's now the main bulk of this game. You'll have things running at you, these enemies that I mentioned. Now, I have to say, I don't think there's as many in this game as they think, because even though there's a big long list there, I didn't counter that many variations of enemy. It felt to me suspiciously like the same few enemies kept running around at me, and there wasn't a lot of them. I mean, I had pretty much free reign of this game. I wasn't being continuously attacked by a lot of stuff, I have to say. There was stuff there, but not that much of it. I was able to quickly get through most of this level and find stuff. Yeah. On the first level when it lands, you'll start with your character, tiny characters, and it's all tiny sprites. And the game is principally split into sort of a top third, I guess, maybe a bit more than that, maybe top 3/4 is the game window where your tiny sprites will be jumping around. Below that is the overcomplicated text-laden UI.
Oh, it's awful.
Yeah, it's just too busy on the eye. You can't. And also it's been shaded in turd. So you can't really make anything out properly. The worst colour to make anything is dirty brown.
For a while, I thought the actual bit in the middle as well was a cock and balls.
It does look like that, doesn't it? Yeah. Like an erect penis right in the middle. Yeah. Veiny as well. Veiny.
That's what I thought it was. Like, that's a strange thing. I mean, it's a strange tiger, I guess. But
it is a strange thing to...
That's what I thought it was.
So the info panel at the bottom will tell you, aside from having a giant erect penis in it, does tell you things like the amount of Rennie coins that you've got, your lives that you've currently got, the score, all the sort of stuff you would expect to find in a game like this. But you don't really spend a lot of time looking at it because it's not pleasant on the eye. Now, it does change colour later when you get to the levels. Mercifully, they changed the UI colour, so it's only rusty sheriff's badge brown in that first one. Anyway, so you'll run around the game. The top half of the first level, you're in kind of a sort of, it's not icy, but it's kind of blue and white and shaded. Now the shading is quite nice on it. There's like quite nice shaded walls, and there's like platform parts, and then there's like these, not ladders, but it reminded me of the graphics that are in the second level of Ghosts and Goblins on the C64.
So. Yeah, very much.
So if you're think of what that looks like, you're not far off this. Apart from having little tiny arrows that don't really help you that much, really, because you'll kind of find your own way anyway. Some of the levels, some of these levels have got walls, and then there's like little ladder things that you can climb up, and some of them have branches of things you have to jump between and jump across. So it's a bit like that level in Ghosts and Goblins.
Yes.
And then all the while you'll be, I guess it'd be there's either skeletons running around at you. I noticed that sometimes they were just kind of stood around, and then they sort of woke up when I got a bit nearer them, and they went, "Oh God, there's somebody there! Come after you." And I wouldn't say that it applies a lot of intelligence to this. The AI isn't going to challenge you here. You can just jump over them, principally. The only ones that really will annoy you in this are the damn birds.
Yep.
Because they do kind of follow you around. They're just only little, but they get in the way. Also on the ground, you'll find that there's vases, which you can smash, and you'll probably find Rennie coins in there and things like that. Or some of the other items we mentioned. Sorry, Zenny coins. I'm going to learn Rennie coins. But you'll find Rennie. With these coins you're already splitting us. You'll find your Zenny coins and also the other things that I mentioned. You will find frozen old people, which is weird, but you will find them. And sometimes they will just give you the stuff I've already mentioned. Other times it'll take you to like a weird selection screen, like a little shop. Now, where this pop-up shop comes from, I don't know. Bear in mind that they've just been frozen to stood there, but suddenly they've got a shop.
With loads of armor and stuff as well. Where were they keeping it?
I don't know, but you can never afford to buy any, so don't waste your time with it. Because it's all too expensive.
Absolutely.
By the time you would have need to got to about level 4 before you've got enough Zenny coins to be able to get any of those expensive items. The top item on there is 9,600 coins.
It's like going to a pub in London.
Now, I was playing this game for some time, and the most coins I got, I think, was about 100, maybe 150. So I was able to get
I didn't manage to buy something. I bought some armor.
But it was the cheap 300 armor, not the expensive.
Of course it was.
Exactly what I mean. So, and I guess, maybe those things are just there for show, but it seems a bit stupid. But so you can go in there and you can buy these upgrades, and they do, it does upgrade you slightly if you get them. I mean, I have to say, I never got any money, enough coins to be able to buy the better upgrades. So I couldn't tell you if they made it better or not, because I never got any of them. And I tried to play this as legitimately as I could. So I didn't apply any cheats or anything like that, which I could have done, because the cheat page for this was ridiculously long.
Yeah.
So anyway, if you're not running around shooting the skeletons and everything else, or being menaced by giant blocky skulls, and when it said them skulls are floating around, they're not just skulls, they're giant blocky, horrible, expanded sprite things. Never do that.
Not when you've got so many tiny sprites around.
No,
you can't just expansion.
You can't just embiggen sprites on the C64. It makes them look awful. So just don't have them. How about that? Don't have a giant. And it's also in a place where it can't menace you. It's just there. So I can only imagine that they put that there just to go, you're like, that's horrible. It's terrible. Anyway, so periodically you're going to get one of them. But the mainstay of the rest of the sprites, they're just about the same size as you. They're not very well defined. So you are animated as such, but you're kind of a brownish stain. They do kind of look a bit like skeletons, and some of them look more like the things that you'd expect to see in a game like this. But everything's been shrunk down from the arcade sizes, so everything is tiny sprites again. Anyway, you'll run around, follow the arrows, you'll find the chests, periodically open them. Sometimes they poison you, which is really stupid and dead annoying. Sometimes they don't. And it is a bit of a hit and miss game. You'll jump onto platforms, and then you'll be thinking, how the hell do I get over there? And there's a lot of, what do you call them? But not faith drops. What did you call them? Leaps of faith.
Leaps of faith, yeah.
And there's a few leaps of faith type things in here, which is always a bit daft on some of those.
It's never a good design.
No, it's a bit cheap and a bit cheaper. I think they're inherited from the arcade. Now, I didn't play the arcade. I did look at it, but I didn't play the arcade. So I don't know if these levels mirror the arcades exactly, but they certainly seem quite big and well grown. But they also seem very similar. So when I got to the I got to the second level, because I've got to the end of the first level. There's a boss that you fight, beat that boss. The boss is okay. No, it's
the block
standard
boss.
stuff.
The blocks.
It was just 4 blocks, yeah, but it's 4 disintegrating blocks, slammy blocks. Well, they are what they are.
Here he is, everyone. Slammy blocks.
But when I went to the next level, it looked alarmingly like the first level, only they'd just changed the graphics, but the layout was the same.
Yeah,
I was like, and I noticed that the layout of the level was principally exactly the same. So I'm thinking they've just changed the graphics, which is a little bit cheap. Or at least they haven't changed a lot of it. So the first level and the third level, sorry, the first level and the second level, you'll start in the bottom left-hand corner. There's a giant wall column to the left. There's a roof over you and there's ground under you. And but it's the first one, it's the three sort of platforms. And the second one, it's kind of an arch, but it's just the same layout. And there's a little arrow right above your head, and it's exactly the same. And also the same enemy. And there's almost, I think, the same pot there. Anyway, but you do the same thing on each level. So you in this game, that's it. You wander around, jumping about. It's kind of it's described as a hack and slash. I think it's kind of a hack slash shooter type game. Its intention is okay, but it has the same problem as Time Soldier. And that I think on an arcade, maybe if there was a few of you, because I imagine this is 2-player or more on the arcades at least.
I don't know.
But even if, but in the arcade you've got a little bit more show and tell. It's probably going to be a little bit more fun on the arcade, and also I imagine that the difficulty was ramped up on the arcade to make you pump more coins in. Because they've scaled back the difficulty on this. You realise how if you don't put the difficulty in, you're just wandering around. I was wandering around, avoiding blocky skulls and getting annoyed with tiny birds. Surely that wasn't on the job description for this game. I don't remember reading that at all. It made it sound dead exciting with dragons and all that lot. And imagine maybe later in the game there's more to it. But principally for me, I felt like Black Tiger, it sort of had some nice graphics here and there. Parts of it seemed okay, but overall it was just very dull. Just meandered around. And I just found myself just wandering around. I mean, if a game design gets down to you just wandering around following arrows, it's not very exciting, that. And none of the treasure felt very exciting to get, and nothing really shouted at you. And then it just became a bit like, what's the point? I'm not sure I'm really into it. So 64% it scored in Zap. Probably about right, maybe even a little bit on the generous side. But some of the graphics are better than on others. It's okay in places, but I just got a bit of a sense of same. It's the same thing over and over again. I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that. So Black Tiger, nah, not for me. What about you?
Yeah, pretty much same. Great cover and advert for this. I think it's a Frank Frazetta piece.
Well, it says on the blurb that it was the box art was Peter Andrew Jones.
Oh, it's Peter Andrew Jones. Yeah, I always get Peter Andrew Jones and Frank Frazetta mixed up. Yeah, it's Padge, isn't it? PAJ. It's incredible. Yeah, it's really good. It
is really good.
It's that warrior stood there facing off against a dragon. It's brilliant. But I've pretty much written exactly the same as you. This feels very familiar. We've played a lot of games like this or in this vein, and I can't, when I look at this, yes, there's some nice backgrounds, but I can't help compare it to games on the C64 that kind of took inspiration from things like this, which do similar stuff like Myth, Beyond the Ice Palace, but they kind of look better. They're nicer, although they didn't play. Yeah. We had our problems with them. We've played these things a lot. So there's some nice touches in this. There's some interesting non-linear level design to go and explore, I guess, which is all right if you don't follow the arrows and jump around a bit and find some extra bits and bobs. But it's ultimately another wander about to find the boss and progress type of game from that era. Reminded me a bit of Rastan as well. And all those sorts of those things.
Mini Rastan.
Well. Yeah, Mini Rastan. And you got just another one of these, but it's 1990 by now, maybe. And this was, don't forget, this is ported from 1987.
True.
Things have moved on a little bit by this point. There's a bit more things to these games. So just this simple run around and hack and slash and do stuff to get a little long in the tooth a bit at this point. And there's just too many of them for this to really engage. And like you said, the bloody multi-load again to contend with. It's just, oh God. I imagine there's a lot of visuals probably, and they've said, oh, well, to get more of them, we're going to have to do a multi-load. Fair enough. But I don't know, that it just kills it. And like you said as well, bitty visuals, bitty sprites, so bitty.
Yeah.
So bitty. It's like, oh, what?
Bitty sprites, bitty tiny sprites.
Yeah, I mean, it got the 2/3, didn't it? 64%. It's the 2/3, and it's probably about right. It plays quite well. And because it's got all the elements of the arcade, I could never do that. In the instructions, it says if you push up, then maybe 2/3 of a second later, push the diagonal to the right or left, and he'll do an arc jump. I was like, I never
got it to do that.
No, I could never get it to work.
No.
You're lying to us. Either that or you didn't put it in the C64 version.
Yeah, it's more likely it.
But I think, so I was trying for ages to do that. I don't know why. Just because you told me I could do it, I'm going to do it. But you can't. It's got like the elements of the arcade to it. It's just another one of these, isn't it? It's another. It's okay. 64%. Yeah, it's not terrible. It's like I said at the beginning of this episode. It's just a bit drab. It's just a bit lifeless and drab, and there's just not a bit. There's not enough pizzazz and oomph and something to it. I don't know. No. It's just lacking. Bit lacking. Yep. There we go. Although, it does have a big cock and balls in its UI, which I'll always give it a...
It's a first. I don't think we've ever had that.
We have not.
And it changes colour.
It does change colour. that vein goes from yellow to blue to angry red.
But it does.
So on that note, I give this 97%.
And then you'll be playing this game for a while, you'll feel very elated, and then after a while you feel a sudden sense of gloom.
I can't see it catching on. Anyway, that's Black Tiger. Oh yeah. We're going to go away, take a break, cool down a little, and we'll be back. We've got films and TV from June 1990 to get through, so please do stick around. And we're back. Right, okay, what's going on for TV? June 1990. Well, on the 2nd of June, Graham, Opportunity knocked. Not for this, though, because it ended its run. Opportunity Knocks ends its run on BBC One after 4 series with the 1990 final.
That's so they changed its name to Opportunity Knocked, like past tense.
Yeah, absolutely knocked off.
Good riddance to the stupid format of the show. Hope we never see it again. Oh, hang on.
Hang on. Simon Cowell might remember what this was.
Yeah, just a bit. Goodness.
Talent shows. They're just a mainstay out there. Talent shows are just forever and ever and ever and ever.
Yeah,
just inundated with them.
Well, there was loads of them, weren't there? I mean, after a while we had pop stars, and then we had X Factor, Pop Idol. Pop stars. There's been loads of them. Now there's The Voice. The Britain's Got Talent, of course, and then the Insert Country Here's Got Talent versions. Even though they all seem to intermingle anyway. So why don't they just call it? Countries do have talent somewhere.
Something's got talent. People have talent.
People have talent. Yeah.
Let's have an international one.
Same format, judges make comments, and I don't know. It's just a format that seems to have endured, isn't it? Which is strange.
Yeah.
But and it has made. Opportunity Knocks made some famous people's careers back then, of course.
Yeah.
So it has led to some good comedians coming out of that process. I think people like Lenny Henry. I think he first appeared on Opportunity Knocks many moons ago.
Famous ones. I think the thing is, it's like people. It just gives people 15 minutes of fame for either good or bad reasons.
Yeah.
They're either pretty good, and when you get the shocked Simon Cowell face, that'll do for this week's thingy. He couldn't believe what he saw. You'll never believe what was at number 10. Or the wrong reason. It's like, what are you doing?
They've lasered it down now, because X Factor, thank mercifully, is gone now.
Yes.
And so there's no shows like that. I suppose the only one that really endures is the Britain's Got Talent. And that's mercifully now over quite a short run. And I think X Factor ran for 20 seasons or something like that.
God only
Prior
knows.
To that, Pop Idol was for, and that had Pete Waterman on it, didn't it? Pop Idol. It had Stock Aitken and Waterman, but Waterman. And so, I don't know, it just...
What, Dennis?
That would have been great. He'd have been good on that. But they and even those have given us some, famous artists, as it were, now. But I don't know, as the popularity of those things waning, it must be at some point. I mean, the Britain's Got Talent one, basically, the winning act gets £250,000, and then they get to perform on the Royal Variety, don't they, in front of the king, I guess, or whomever seems to.
Did Diversity come out of this?
Yes, that was... I don't know which one of the shows they were on, actually, one of them, but I think there might have been one of them, Britain's Got Talent, or there might have been an early Britain's Got Talent.
And it's the one where Tom Jones sits facing the audience.
Yeah, that's The Voice. Yeah, that's still going. Yeah. And it's the only thing, well, he can't now get out of that chair. He's been...
That's what I was thinking.
That's it. So he's one with that chair, and he lives there. He lives in the studio now, and in that chair.
They just pull the chair over him like a giant egg, and he just sits in there roosting.
In his pod. Yeah, he does. But and that's still going. That's another show I don't understand. And then there was I Can Hear Your Voice, and there's loads of really weird derivations of this stuff.
Ugh.
No, so I don't know. Very strange. Is it I Can See Your Voice? It's called, that one, or something weird like that. There's loads of stupid variations of it. Ultimately, this ends in a crazy show where you've got Richie Sambora dressing as a potato. So the end game here isn't good. The outcome doesn't end well for anybody's careers, does it?
No, it doesn't. 8th of June to 8th of July, the BBC and ITV provide television coverage of the 1990 FIFA World Cup.
I see that, because I wondered if they were both showing the same games at the same time.
No, because you've written where they both did it. Yeah, well, they shared games, so one would show the afternoon game, the tea time game, and then BBC would show that, and ITV would show the one in the evening. It was always so that there was always something else on the other side to watch if football wasn't your thing.
Right.
So,
did who got the final then? Who showed the final?
What we in? I think they both showed the final. I think.
Okay. They're supposed to have different commentators and stuff like that, don't they?
Yeah, and obviously everyone watched BBC because ITV has adverts.
Yeah, of course it does.
Everybody preferred the BBC version. I think probably the viewers were the ratings were like massive to the BBC and very small. I think everyone I knew watched the BBC version. Nobody watched ITV. Generally because it was probably Martin Tyler as well, and nobody liked him.
Who's the commentator on the BBC then at that time?
It would have been John Motson, I think.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, I don't know who that is.
I think. But it could not. It might not have been. I mean, I obviously haven't. It's 1990, but I presume it was John Motson.
Yeah, fair enough.
He was there for living, wasn't he?
Well, it's one of the biggest televised events, isn't it, for viewership, as we said last time. So
yeah,
very popular, the World Cup, and tragic that we crashed out, of course, in the usual way that we got. This wasn't the usual way at the time, was it? Was this the first time it happened properly?
Yeah, it's the furthest we'd got in a while. We got to the quarterfinals in '86 when we had the Hand of God with Maradona, I think.
Of course we did, yeah. I remember that.
Then we got there, and then we got one further with this. We got to the semis, but we didn't make it. We got knocked out by Germany on penalties. And then that would happen again in Euro '96. We lost to Germany again on penalties in the semi-finals.
Yeah, we don't want to mention that. That's a horrible moment.
But we've got the... it's weird, actually, because we're talking about the World Cup now. We've got a thingy starting next week, or is it the week after? The Euros. So
is that back on, is it?
So actually, by the time you're listening to this, I think the Euros will probably have started, or will be starting.
Exciting.
So I'm looking forward to that. And again, we've got that weird thing. This is June. We're recording in June. There you go.
Oh, of course, yeah. Happened.
It's happened again. 16th of June, though, pages from CFAX is shown after 10 a.m. for the final time.
Aww.
We love our CFAX. How many times have we spoken about CFAX on this bloody podcast?
Quite a lot.
Nobody's discussed CFAX like we have, as many times as we have in
it's
recent
not what
memory.
You call a major televisual event. The fact that they just switched one of the bandwidth services off because it was just existed a little bit of spare bandwidth, didn't it? But,
but from 19th
important.
of June, BBC Two began broadcasting programmes when daytime on 2 is not on the air at 10 a.m. rather than at lunchtime or something. Anyway, CFAX was turned off.
Goodbye, CFAX. We hardly knew ye.
Yeah. 20th of June, Archie Macpherson commentates his last football match for BBC Scotland with the Scotland versus Brazil World Cup match in Italy, which Brazil win 1-0, leaving Scotland eliminated from the finals. He's replaced by Jock Brown, who has commentated the same match on STV as main commentator when Sports Scene returns on 25th of August. Brown is replaced by Jerry McNee for Scott Sport, which is shown the following day.
Goodness me, this is a low event month, isn't it?
Probably not for our Scottish listeners. They're probably like, yes, I remember that.
I remember that when Jerry McNee took over from Bobby McFoot.
Him. Oh, well, we had some Scottish listeners. Well done.
Well, we just brought a horrible memory back to them.
No, that's true.
So one of them's just gone, when they heard that Archie Macpherson commentated his last game.
Absolutely. Oh, we lost to Brazil. Everyone loses to Brazil. It's just a thing.
Yeah, you're always going to lose to Brazil.
Yeah. 24th of June, the network television premiere of James Cameron's 1984 US science fiction film, The Terminator, on BBC Two as part of the channel's Moviedrome strand. That had obviously Arnold Schwarzenegger, Linda Hamilton, Michael Biehn, and Lance Henriksen. So this was, I remember this being on Moviedrome. That would have been Alex Cox, wouldn't it?
It was.
Yes. What a film. We've never had a chance to actually talk really about the Terminator stuff, have we?
We haven't, no, not really. Did we talk about Terminator 2?
No, because that's 91.
Oh, we haven't talked about it yet then.
No.
Or have we? With the Terminator films, you never know. Did someone go back in the past and change what we'd done? Who knows? This is quite a coup for, this is one of those films that Moviedrome was kind of built for. Actually.
Really,
yeah.
This is really one of those sort of cult, but this was a cult classic already on video, wasn't it? This had sort of exploded under the radar.
Yeah, completely.
In the sort of late 80s. And obviously this was, had Conan before this, but this was kind of the film that cemented Schwarzenegger in the general general sort of populace in their mind, wasn't it? I think. And also as well, cast him as that, the evil Terminator, which is interesting. What do you like Terminator? Are you a fan of the first one?
Yeah, Terminator's one of my favourite films. First Terminator. It did a number of things really well. So firstly, you've got a really, really talented director in James Cameron.
Yes.
Who did miracles with a low budget. Because this is a low budget film by anyone's standards.
Yeah.
But also some really great casting choices. Linda Hamilton, really good casting choice. Schwarzenegger in this movie isn't walking around, apart from that short scene at the beginning, but he's not the bodybuilder one that we've known from Pumping Iron and from Conan, and he wasn't that. So it was great to see Arnold Schwarzenegger in a different kind of role, and he's a villain, of course. So he played that particular role really well. And I know it's easy to say, well, he's played a robot, but it's like, actually, no, it was a good casting choice to have somebody that looked like that play the role that he did. The story is really good. Anything with time travel would have had my attention anyway. Add to that some amazing visual effects of their time. Nowadays, you look at them and you're like, oh, that's not very good. But they were amazing at the time. And this was a real sleeper hit in the cinemas. I mean, I don't even remember it being at the cinema. Or not that I would have gone to see it, because I wouldn't have been old enough to get in to see it.
It was an 18, wasn't it, in 1984?
Yeah, no chance. But I don't even remember anyone. I remember my brother would have gone to see it, and if it was any good, I don't even remember him talking about it. So it just completely bypassed me until we got an opportunity to see it. And even now, to this day, I mean, I watch The Terminator pretty regularly because it's such a great film, and it's a real lesson to modern filmmakers, I think, that because it's not 3 hours long.
No, it's not.
What it does, if you're ever going to watch a really good double bill of these kind of films, RoboCop and Terminator are a good double bill to watch for really concise, good quality filmmaking in a time frame to keep everything at the right pace and time. Terminator is such a brilliant film and eminently quotable, something which is one of those things that later down the line, everyone put, throwaway lines like I'll be back and things like that. These cemented themselves in the conscious. And, well, when the Terminator 2 finally does come along, of all the films that everyone was excited about seeing a sequel to, the Terminator was the one at that time, because everyone was like, this is going to be amazing. And so they all have been, well, the exception of maybe two of them. But this great film, Terminator, always was. And I still, like I said, I still watch it regularly to this day. Taut, tight, action-led, some amazing visuals, and just a really good film with some amazing moments in there. Even to this day, the sequence in the Tech Noir nightclub is one of my favourite film sequences in any film. Yes. When the Terminator's looking for her, she drops a bag, she looks down, it all goes slow motion. He scans across and she just looks down and he's in the background. It's just brilliant filmmaking. It's really brilliant filmmaking. It's really tense. It's such a good sequence. And then when she sits up and he sees her, then his gun comes out and he starts blasting everybody. Just an amazing film. It's really good. It's just, I might have to watch that again actually now.
I think you talked yourself into it, haven't you? Michael Biehn's great in it as well. Michael Biehn's excellent as Kyle.
It's a great cast. It's a great cast all the way through. It's even got a young, what's his name at the beginning, isn't it? The guy that plays
Bill Paxton,
Bill Paxton in it. Yeah, he's in there in a very early on character at the beginning.
Yeah, but one of the other punks is the alien bounty hunter from X-Files.
Yeah, yes, he is. Yeah, that's right.
I can't never remember his name, but we said he looks like somebody. He looks like him out of Level 42. He looks like Mark King.
He does. Yeah. I don't ever want to see a Terminator with him in it.
No, Terminator is incredible. It's a really great film, like you said, and it's such done on a budget, and you watch it, but there's such I think it's in the Arnold Schwarzenegger documentary that's on Netflix where he's talking about how he got the role, and I think he just badgered Cameron because to play it. I think it's that one. And it's it's just such a perfect fit in it. It's one of those films sort of thing that's there's no fat on that film. Everything is purposeful. Everything just goes through. The sequence at the beginning where he's working his way through the phone book to find the Sarah Connors to shoot them and kill them, and it's really brutal as well. Really, really brutal.
Yes, it is.
But such a great film. So go watch it because it's very good. Probably better than most of these new shows. On the 1st of June, the $64,000 question.
Do you remember it?
No, don't.
Good, because it was rubbish. It didn't last very long.
Who did it? Who hosted it?
Oh, I can't remember. It was based off the American one. It was, and I think they start off with the money.
Monkhouse.
So do they start off with the money and then gradually lose it, or do they have to be? I can't remember the format of it now, but I don't remember it being. I just remember it being very American, a bit like The Price is Right, and that's no criticism to any American listeners we have. When I say very American, it's just compared to all the British game shows, there was a complete sea change of the way they operated. And at the time, I just don't think the country was all ready for that. It was a bit too much in your face and a bit loud. Yeah,
we were used to Sale of the Century and
exactly
things like that. Price is Right, where you could win £100.
Exactly. Checkbook and pen.
Or a bendy bully. We weren't used to this amounts of money. Uncharted Wars.
Very bold and loud, as I remember it, but I don't remember. It did say it only lasted for 52 episodes and it got biffed because it was just unpopular.
Yeah, it was. 3rd of June, Shoot to Kill. Famous memories
documentary.
Of this. Yeah. A reconstruction of the events that led to the 1984-86 Stalker inquiry, to the shooting of 6 terrorist suspects in Northern Ireland. very serious. I don't really remember much of it. I don't think I watched it. I don't think.
No, it wasn't something that was high on my agenda of things to watch at that time.
No.
And I haven't got. No, I've actually been trying to get back and watch some of these things from that time, things like that, but I haven't managed to get to that one.
No.
But I imagine it's a drama documentary, so reconstruction. So it's probably going to be serious, and I don't know. Just you need to be in the right mindset to watch things like that. Really.
Absolutely, yeah. 12th of June, Set of Six. This was a British sketch comedy show starring Roland Rivron as the Scroat sextuplets. So for those who don't know, Dr. Scroat was a character on the Jonathan Ross chat show, I believe, if I remember rightly.
Something like that, yeah.
In the late 80s, that Roland Rivron created. And then they sort of did this spin-off where he was a medical miracle where he was part of a sextuplets. And so essentially this sort of follows, but all of them have vowed never to talk to each other. So you've got 6 very different characters that Roland Rivron all plays, and just sort of follows their lives in a kind of observational humour that we probably see later in things like The Office, I guess.
Yeah, very off the wall like that. Yeah,
yeah. So this is that kind of thing. And like you, I'm not sure I got on with this at the time, but you linked them here, and I did watch some of them, and they were making me chuckle.
Same. I don't know if maybe I wasn't in the right place to watch that at the time.
Yeah.
In terms of where my humour was at. And also, and I've said this before about something else, the only person I knew that was into this stuff would have put, the fact that they were into it would have put me off it.
Yeah. I think that's what we said about Vic and Bob.
Yeah, same. It's because it's the same problem. It's the same person.
Yes, it would have been. Yeah. So we'd be like, oh, you like it, I can't like it.
Yeah.
Because that's what you're like when you're 18.
Yeah.
You are a bit like that, aren't you? Rather than just going, oh, actually, this is all right. You like it. No, I can't possibly like this.
Yeah, some things that particular person I liked, and some things I didn't. But I think that whenever they insisted it was hilarious, it made me think it in.
Yeah, the beginning of the start of one of them where he's there's 2 start beginning. There's one where he's the cameraman one that made me laugh when he starts digging on the beach and there's just that cut.
Right.
It just cuts back in his massive hole. That made me laugh. And then the sports one, he's just running doing stuff.
That's stupid.
Because he's no good at, he's not academic, he's no good at this, and he's no good at that. So there's only one thing for him to be on, and that was a sportsman. And unfortunately, he was rubbish at that too.
Yeah, I watched the one where he's got all the kids and he's taking them around the hospital. He's a doctor.
Oh yeah,
and he keeps asking the kids, "Do you know what that is?" And they know exactly what it is. And he's like, "Oh, wow, actually, yeah, it is one of them, yeah." And he ends up with pointing this thing. He goes, "So what's that?" Then he goes, "It's a floor polisher." He's like, "Is it? Oh, is it?" It's really stupid.
Yeah, it is very
funny stuff.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was good. Yeah. 15th of June, you could have gone and watched Art Attack.
You could.
That's a hard word for me to say with my accent. Art Attack.
Art Attack.
Art. I've got a bit of I want to put the
Just don't say it like that.
All right. Art Attack. That's just not me. Art Attack. That's not my voice. Anyway, this was eventually. I mean, it's the follow-up to Take Heart, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess it is.
It's
it's ITV's version, but yeah.
Yeah, so it's the ITV version. For those, it's children doing art.
You see, it was an art show where Neil Buchanan showed you how to make things and paint things and
craft show.
Try to dispel some of the myths around, art's for everybody. Anything can be art. Anything can be. That's an art attack. That's an art attack. And like I said, the opening of that TV show was a stupid meme waiting to happen when there's then footage of old people crippled over in the street. That's a heart attack. Big difference there.
I was going to say, I'm not sure that the titles, because that's what I mean. You have to be quite careful. Art attack. You want to say heart attack.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
So it's I'm not sure that title has sort of stood the test of time.
I mean, one of the episodes I watched is he filled some eggshells with paint and then dropped them onto a giant canvas and they sort of splattered paint everywhere. And he's like, there you go. There you've made it. What did he call them? Did he call them splash painting or something? I can't remember. I was like, and it's just like, all right, this seems like a very elaborate way of using eggs, but okay, I'll go with it. But it's that kind of stuff, stuff you can try at home, but you never have the stuff. So it's like, and at this point, by the way, in the UK, the art supplies weren't that easy to come by. No,
they weren't. And if you used to pull your mum's eggs, she'd be well annoyed when she came to do egg and chips.
Well, if that's the thing, because he was using empty eggshells. So what happened to all the eggs? It's never answered, Adrian. It's never answered.
He's very full. He's full on protein.
Did he lay them? Did he hatch them?
Yeah, it's empty and cracked.
They'd be cannon eggs.
He winced as they came out.
He did. I laid these eggs myself. You don't have to do that at home, but I bloody well did. All right.
These are pure Buchanan droppings.
Anyway, he made art stuff, and the idea of the show is that he was trying to make art appealing and interesting for kids, and actually what he was doing was undermining the concept of art, which is, that it's actually a proper skill by making it democratizing. Everyone can do art. Just throw an egg at a wall. It's art. It's like, all right, you're kind of killing it, really. But okay, at least as far as I see it anyway.
Yeah. 27th of June, there was The Gravy Train.
Don't know much about it, but it had Christoph Waltz in it, so it may be worth watching.
Maybe. I'll take your word for it. Finally, 28th of June, Waiting for God.
God, yeah. Very British, the description for that, isn't it?
Yes. It's a British sitcom that ran on. It stars Graham Carradine as Tom and Stephanie Cole as Diana, two spirited residents of a retirement home who spend their time running rings around the home's oppressive management and their own families. Gentle comedy. Very gentle.
Yeah, very gentle. I mean, it's jokes in an OAP home. Just imagine there's probably jokes about nappies and falling asleep in your chair.
I found a clip on YouTube where they were laughing about somebody who'd recently died and he'd become a Buddhist, so he's going to come back as something or other.
Oh, great. Yeah, so I'm not watching that.
Probably best not to. If you didn't fancy watching any of that, I mean, I was probably watching the football.
Yeah.
But 1st of June at the cinema, we had We're No Angels.
Yeah, De Niro, wasn't it? And
is it Sean Penn?
Yeah, Sean Penn, Robert De Niro. It's a remake of the Humphrey Bogart 1955 movie, which was way funnier than the De Niro one, by the way. So
it's two fugitives passing themselves off as priests in the hope of evading capture and passing and getting into Canada, which made me realise, was Nuns on the Run a remake of the original? Was it?
Well, the original version is they're still dressed as priests because it's guys, but principally the same idea though.
So Nuns on the Run clearly took the idea and just made them nuns instead of priests.
Yeah, totally that.
Because it was two criminals trying to get away, wasn't it? Away from.
Yes, as far as I remember, but yeah, it is. But if you're ever going to watch a version of that film, and any of them, I was go and watch the Humphrey Bogart one because it's funny because it's got Humphrey Bogart in it, and he's actually quite funny in that.
Yeah,
so, quite deadpan.
Same day, 1st of June. If you didn't fancy that, then you could have gone seen, and pretty much everyone did. Pretty Woman.
It was a humongous hit.
Yeah, massive.
Absolutely massive. Interesting because it was released technically by Disney under their Touchstone label, which is the few of the films for Touchstone in this particular episode. Touchstone had a remit, didn't they, of producing more, not adult content, because that sounds completely wrong, but just more, less Disney classic and more contemporary Disney. So, stories like Pretty Woman and things like that. And
Touchstone was their kind of more, I want not adult, but mature. It was mature. Yeah. It wasn't cartoons. It was stories.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, it wasn't kids' films. Anyway.
So, do you know how much it made?
I imagine it's in the billions, isn't it, by now?
And I don't know at the time, sort of thing. Probably is just for inflation, but it had a budget of 14 million.
Okay.
Most of that was Richard Gere's hair. But its gross worldwide was 463 million.
Oh, crikey. People do love a good sob story, though, don't they?
On a 14 million budget, what's the return on that? That's incredible, isn't it? Surprised we never got... Did we ever get a sequel? They did do another film together, didn't they?
Yeah, they did the Bride one, didn't Runaway Bride.
Which I don't think was as well received, I seem to remember.
No, it's because it's a bit odd. Runaway Bride. I mean, Pretty Woman it's a good romantic comedy, isn't it? The birth of the proper rom-com. And also, you've got Julie Roberts is actually really excellent in that. And even, as much as I don't like him, she's a hooker.
But it's, I don't think the singer's stood up quite so well, has it, that plot?
No, I mean, it's also a little bit of a criticism of Los Angeles at that time, strangely enough, because she's principally meant to be a Los Angeles hooker on the Strip. That's, by the way, not where the hookers go on in Hollywood. They don't hang around central Hollywood. They'd get moved on if they were hanging around there. But the idea is that she's in Los Angeles, isn't it? And it's been a little bit of criticism. Anyone can make it in Hollywood, and that's what he's saying at the beginning, isn't he? And stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then she goes to the, famously in the scene, she goes to Rodeo Drive and she goes into the couture shops, and because she doesn't look right, they don't, they get all snooty and don't serve her, and then it's a big mistake, huge and all that. I quite like that premise. Having been to Rodeo Drive, it's nothing like that. They're really nice.
Okay, fair enough.
And I went in dressed like she did, just to see what happened. Exactly the same clothes, everything. Funny enough, that happened more than once, that sound. I didn't get it myself. But on reflection, yes, I should have shaved my legs and my back.
It's not all you should have shaved.
That's not all I was showing.
Just to sort of give you a sort of... just to
that ain't no pretty woman.
You want to know what made Roy Orbison blind? But Runaway Bride, just comes from Runaway Bride, because obviously we'll not get that. That's 1999. Pretty Woman cost 14 million to make. 8 years later, Runaway Bride cost 70 million.
Aye, well, I see, because they made so much success off the back of Pretty Woman, they all upped their fees.
Absolutely, but didn't do terribly. It grossed 309 million.
Okay.
Not
Is it the same director?
I'm not sure if it's the same director. I can have a look.
Gary Marshall was Pretty Woman. I don't know if he did.
Yeah, but 70 million to 309, it's not as much of a return from 14 to 463.
No, well, see, Richard Gere was losing his way at this point. It was kind of a peak.
It was Gary Marshall, yes, same person.
So Richard Gere was at a bit of a peak, wasn't he? And then he disappeared for a bit, really. Whereas Julia Roberts kind of actually just kind of went from strength to strength in the various films that she was in from here on in. She's a very bankable Hollywood star, still is. And actually, her acting style is something I actually quite like, because I watched a recent film that's a Netflix film where it's like an end of the world kind of film, and she's actually pretty good in that.
She's really good. If you want a really good Julia Roberts TV show as well, watch Homecoming on Amazon Prime, where it's kind of split over 2 time zones, and she's a waitress in one. Later in life, but earlier on she's dealing with soldiers who come back from I think Iraq or Afghanistan with kind of PTSD. But then the way it's filmed, it's by the guy who did I think it's Sam Esmail, the guy who did Mr. Robot. And that film you're on about, he did that as well. So it's good. It's really good. That's my recommendation for this show, Homecoming. Very good. Okay, good. Just season 1, season 2 weren't that great. Different story, different actors. Season 1, amazing. Yeah,
she's a very bankable and likable star. She's even good in some of the sort of later rom-coms, because she did a few of them, of course. No, very good. I've always got a time for Julia Roberts, and of course she's in Friends as well, which is a funny episode. So
that is a funny episode of Friends, yes. What isn't funny was also the same day is Hard to Kill. Steven Seagal is with us.
Steven Seagal. I didn't realise that he is a real-life Angry Bird. Isn't he? If you drew him, you'd have to draw his stupid eyebrows. He's got heavy brows. They gradually sink to his top lip. He's got such heavy brows.
He likes his carrots, though. This is the man with 3 named films at the time, wasn't it? Always, apart from Nico, because he appeared in Nico, then it was After Above the Law, Hard to Kill, Out for Justice, Marked for Death. There's loads of them. It was just 3 words.
Yeah, there was a few. Under Siege 2.
Under Siege.
Under Siege 2, though.
Under Siege 2, yeah. What was it? On Dangerous Ground.
On Dangerous Ground. They're all stupid. They're all the same. He plays a character that's called Mason Storm.
Of course he does.
Mason Storm. And the plot for this, a detective who falls into a coma after being shot during a home invasion that killed his wife, reawakening 7 years later, Storm embarks on a journey to avenge the death of his wife and expose the corruption of Senator Vernon Trent, the man who ordered the murder of his family. Okay.
Fair enough. It is what it is. That sounds like that's that Gerard Butler film.
It is terrible. They all sound like that, though, don't they, eventually?
What was that one called? Where his wife's going to get killed, and he's in prison committing all those crimes from outside.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it now. I do.
Gerard Butler one. It'll come to me.
They're all the same like that, aren't they? And I suppose this was Steven Seagal started. He lifted at this point, but he became really popular in the video shop world and straight-to-video hits. Yeah. These were massive hits on sell-through and onto video, which was starting to be a thing at this time, but certainly in video. My gosh, this film and all the other ones, they were never out. They were never in the video shop. They were constantly out all the time. We must have worn them out. Unbelievable how popular this guy was. And he's peculiar brand of martial arts, isn't it? Because he does Aikido, isn't he? So he's an Aikido grandmaster.
Yes.
So make of that what you will. I wouldn't want to mess with anyone that can bend and fold people like that, regardless of what they do.
On Aikido sticks? Is that sticks?
No, Aikido it's all using the person's body weight to throw them. It's a bit like judo, but there is sticks in it as well. They do swords and sticks and stabbing weapons.
Seagal was above Michael Dudikoff, but kind of at the same level as Jean-Claude Van Damme, wasn't he? He was that.
Yeah,
that level of sort of action hero. Not quite your Schwarzeneggers and your Stallones or your Willises. He was below that. In the pecking order of action heroes.
Yeah, very much along the Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah,
I mean they sort of appeared in similar films as well, very similar.
Yeah,
2 or 3 word titles, very high concept, principally based around them. At some point, you knew that in a Van Damme movie, he was always going to do the splits, painfully looking splits, and punch someone in the groin and then pull a face about it. With old angry eyebrows, he's going to throw someone over a table because he does that in every film.
Does it? Yeah. Law-Abiding Citizen was that film.
That's it. Another three-worder as well.
The Gerard Butler one. That was it.
Yeah.
If you didn't fancy that amount of violence, you could have gone seen The Punisher for more violence. Which one's this? Is this the Dolph Lundgren one?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It was heavily criticised when it first came out, because it was not in keeping with necessarily with the true comics. Although later down the line, people do say it did. I don't know enough about the comics to really have a judgment on that. So I remember it being pretty good, actually.
Well, the next one was the Thomas Jane one, wasn't it? There was Thomas Jane one.
Mm.
And then there was him out of The Walking Dead, the TV series.
That TV series is brilliant.
Yeah, it's very good.
The latest one, it's really good.
But it does, as you said, right, it did make angered comic books fans at the time, and it reminded me once of a time when I was teaching, and some of my students were discussing the Marvel films, and I heard one of them say about the recent Thor films. I think it might have been Ragnarok or it might have been one of the other ones. I can't remember. And he just said, I don't like them. It's # not my Thor. Someone actually said those words came out of someone's mouth.
Oh dear!
I nearly threw him out of class.
Yeah, should have done at the window in the sea.
No one says # something in my class. Never.
# not my Thor.
Yeah.
Don't. I can't even think of it.
No, dreadful.
The youth of today with their rumble seats.
Absolutely. Finally, if you didn't fancy any of those and you wanted something a bit Dutch, you could have gone seen The Vanishing.
You could, and you would have been horribly disturbed for quite some time after you did.
Yeah. We saw this. I mean, we watched this at college, and that's why I've written Sweet Dreams, because our tutor at the time, good old poor old Bob Stevenson, was it Bob?
Bob Stevenson, yeah.
It was, yeah. Our tutor is no longer with us, I don't think, is he?
No, yeah, he's passed away.
But he was our sort of film tutor, an odd character. He was quite an odd character, but, he got us watching this. I think we recommended it. We watched it. And at the end, when obviously it ends, he just turned around and went, "Ooh, sweet dreams, everyone." I think that's what he said. I'm pretty sure. Gary Brown Sauce will be able to, because he was there as well, because he was in the class too. He'll know. Yeah. He'll correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what he said.
Yeah, I remember the day that Bob retired from the college, when he left, and he popped his head into the door to say goodbye to all of us, because we was in a different group to you.
Yeah.
He said, "I'll see you around, but only in your nightmares." It's kind of goes. This is a guy that fell off the side of the barge into the actual River Freshing, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Drunk, so.
Yeah.
Classic.
He was one of those tutors that would just go to the pub with us and get drunk.
Yeah. By the way, don't do that.
No, I've done that. It's not good. You just tell your students how rubbish they are.
Yeah, it can get quite awkward.
Yeah. 8th of June.
But the film itself, the Vanishing, is the original version. Don't mistakenly get the stupid remake. Make sure you get, and it's directed by the same guy as well. But don't get the Dutch one, for God's sake.
Yeah, don't watch the Kiefer Sutherland version.
And what's the other bad guy in it? It's not Dennis Quaid, is it? It's I can't remember his name now.
Not Dennis Hopper, is it? I don't know.
No, it's the baddie in it. Is the
I honestly can't remember. I think I watched it and erased it just replaced it with the Dutch version.
It's the guy that plays the dude in Thingy.
Oh, is it Jeff Bridges?
Jeff Bridges, yeah. And where they changed the ending.
Yeah.
So watch the original, because it has the proper ending. The remake, actually, they changed the ending because the original film was too bleak for the American audiences.
Yes.
Which it is pretty bleak. Just prepare yourself for that.
Yeah, we're warning you. 8th of June, you could have gone seen Diamond Skulls.
Straight to video soft porn for Amanda Donohoe.
Well, clearly not straight to video. If someone went to the cinema to see it.
Well, I know it was straight to video because it never came anywhere near the cinemas near us.
No, not really. This is Pet House Video presents.
It was, and I could tell you this, along with the whole row of films that was on, were very popular. Red Shoe Diaries, the whole of them.
The Box.
All of them, yeah.
Anything with Sherilyn Fenn in it.
Yeah, exactly that. There was loads of them. They all had crap sequels as well. Sometimes in triplicate, this would have just been on the shelf, and they usually put a scantily clad view of a leg or something on the box at the front, and that would attract a particular demographic to those movies. Yeah. And I could tell you that was handling those returns with rubber gloves.
Some of those spools were clogged.
Some of those tapes, I can tell you this, some of those tapes had certain parts of the film where the tape had been worn transparent. So, because we used to get people who had legitimately rented it for the first time come back and go, it's not working. It gets to about so far in, and then it goes all funny, and then you look, and it's because it's been rewound and replayed and rewound and replayed and rewound and replayed. And like, oh yeah.
Same day, you could have gone watch Clean and Sober.
Don't remember much about that.
No, it's Michael Keaton, isn't it? It's is it a film? Is this like what's the one? Is it Leaving Las Vegas? I don't know. Is it sort of early precursor to that kind of thing? I don't know if it is. Is it? He's an alcoholic, isn't he? Is he trying to sort of clean himself up or something? I'm not quite sure.
Yeah,
I don't remember much of it.
Yeah, it's one of those kind of character films where I don't know. I genuinely don't know much about it, and I don't think it drifted across my trance. It probably would have been on the Wigift as well, but I never saw it.
15th of June, you could have gone and seen The Phantom of the Opera.
You could have gone to see The Phantom of the Opera if you wanted to.
Yeah, Robert Englund, out from under the Freddy mask, puts on another mask. And
he does.
Creeps around as the Phantom in this one, is what it is. England sort of became like that actor for horror films back then for a while, didn't he? He was in that.
He certainly did.
Was it 10,000 Maniacs or 2,000 Freaks or something, or a remake of that? He was in there. But then he ultimately got replaced by that guy out of Saw. He became.
It's true. Well, his first foray didn't take off for him, did it? Because there's playing a character called Willie in V. Never worked out for him after that. So it's probably a good job that he went into horror, because he never got any further work in science fiction again off the back of that.
No, he didn't.
Robert Englund. This is interesting that it's directed by Dwight Little. He's done loads of stuff. If you go and check out he's done. Oh, what hasn't he done? If you click on it, just when I saw the name Dwight Little, I thought, oh, he seems familiar. When I clicked on IMDb, it was like a whole catalogue of TV shows, famous shows he's worked on. There's hundreds of them.
Oh God, I'm going to have a look now. Right, hang on. What's he done? He done. I saw Tekken in there.
Yeah.
Did he do the Tekken movie? I can't.
Yeah.
The Tekken. Wow.
But
Anacondas.
But look further back than that.
Did some X-Files.
Yeah.
Strange World, did Millennium. Oh, Millennium was good. He did Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers.
That's what I mean. He's done quite a bit of stuff. So.
He did. There we go. Oh, well, that's Dwight Little. Who knew? Not to be confused with Dwight Schultz.
Or Dwight Big.
Or Dwight Medium.
Because Jimmy's name isn't Quite, isn't it?
Quite Little. Yeah, it is. That is a shame. We could have made loads of jokes about that. If you didn't fancy the Phantom of the Opera, you could have gone and seen Ski Patrol.
It was shit. Don't.
Yeah, is that one of those late sort of Porky style things?
Yeah, and they're not very good. They're not very funny. And you just know there's boobs in it on skis. Well, not boobs on skis. People are on the skis who have boobs.
Okay. If you didn't fancy that, you could have seen The Package.
Could have.
Not to be confused with the UI in Black Tiger. This is who is it? It's Gene Hackman and Tommy Lee Jones.
It is, yeah.
Experienced Green Beret Sergeant Johnny Gallagher is escorting a prisoner, Airborne Ranger Thomas Boyette, back to the US. But Boyette escapes and Gallagher must risk life and limb to catch him. I watched the trailer. I was like, it has an explosion that sounds like someone's opened a bag of crisps.
Yeah, I didn't check it out, but I just know there's going to be bad accents in that.
There was at one point, there was what are you doing?
I should remember that Tommy Lee Jones was the baddie in Under Siege, I believe.
He was, yes, at this point, yeah. I don't think he's the baddie in this. I think he's actually been set up. I think it's one of those films where he's kind of coming back to try and assassinate someone. I don't know.
Accents aren't his strength. I seem to remember him putting an Irish accent on in one film, and it doesn't work out well for anybody.
No, it didn't. Finally, same day, Miss Firecracker.
Holly Hunter, but I'd never heard of it.
I've heard of it, but I've never seen it, so I have nothing to say on it. 22nd of June, you could have gone and seen An Innocent Man.
The moustache is in that. Wow. That's a heavy mo, isn't it?
Well, it's Tom Selleck, so it comes with the territory. Sign him, sign the tash. You know what you're getting in for.
Yeah, man, not guilty of a thing, and he's innocent. Kind of says what it is. Yeah,
sent to prison. He's Shawshank before Shawshank, I guess.
Yeah, something, and he's put in there by the dirty cops. The dirty cops frame him, don't they?
Yeah,
there's a few films around this time that follow that, like The Fugitive. There's a few of them.
Yeah, more of a low-key lockup.
Yeah, actually, yeah. But like I say, there's loads of them that seem to be about that kind of theme at this point.
Yeah, true. If you didn't fancy that, you could have seen Revenge.
I've never heard of this.
Tony Scott one. I've never heard of that either. No.
No.
A retired US Navy pilot comes to Mexico under a very red sky where he falls in love with the wife of a powerful businessman. The consequences will be cruel and unforeseen. Kevin Costner, Anthony Quinn, and Madeline Stowe.
It might be worth watching that. Tony Scott films can go either way. Can either be domino or there can be true romance, so you can be yin or yang, really.
Yeah, but no time.
Yeah, no time for that.
No. Fourth War was also released the same day.
Roy Scheider fighting Jürgen Prochnow. No thanks.
Yeah, true. So it's Blue Thunder versus In the Mouth of Madness.
In the Mouth of Thunder.
You have the Fourth War.
Yeah, no. Popular in the video shop, though, that was.
Yeah, it probably was, yeah. I can see that being popular on video. And finally, same day, The Creator.
No.
Have you ever watched this?
No, I'm not going to.
I've watched this sort of thing. We did a podcast I did one back when I was working with, did some guys, the Kill It With Fire podcast with Paul Lewis and Peter True. And someone chose this as the film to watch that week, and I did not enjoy it. But Peter O'Toole in it. It's weird, really weird.
Of course it is.
It's kind of I think it's some kind of, I don't know, is it Frankenstein type thing? I can't really remember.
I guess so.
I just remember not liking it. 29th of June, there was Stanley and Iris.
Yeah, Robert De Niro, Jane Fonda, just looking at each other with loving breaks of boring, just boring. I'm not.
Did you ever watch it? I don't think I've ever watched it.
No, I've watched the trailer for this, and I was like, no.
That's not hashtag not my De Niro.
no, I'm sure they're great. They're both amazing actors. De Niro's amazing. Jane Fonda's a really a competent actress. They're both great. But just a struggling widow falls in love with an illiterate short order cook. It's just not my tempo for a movie at this time.
No, it's not. It really isn't. What might have been your tempo, though, was same day was Tremors.
That's a good film, that is, on reflection, Tremors.
Tremors has been going on for so long. There's so many of these bloody things. It's still going. There was one quite recently. There was a TV show a few years back.
There was.
This can't be stopped. It's one of those concepts, though, isn't it? But they did get quite shit by about the sixth film.
Yeah, they did.
So if you haven't seen Tremors, it's basically Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward, with who are in this Midwestern town called Perfection, I think it is, and they're getting menaced by giant worms under the ground who react to sort of noise and thumping on the floor. It's all right. It is actually all right. That first one. It's a good monster film. Movie. Yeah.
Good old-fashioned 90-minute monster movie.
Yeah, with great hair from Bacon. Yeah. If you didn't want to watch either of those two...
Hairy Bacon.
You could have seen Fresh Horses.
No, I know. Molly Ringwald in there, probably getting semi-naked or something. I don't know. It's not... No, I would never. I've never would have watched it. It's just totally not my thing.
No, I think I think the Brat Pack stuff would pass me by this point. I was not ready. Some of it I might have watched, but not this. I don't remember this one at all.
No,
and there we go. That's your TV and video and film for June 1990. We're going to go away, take a quick break. Probably not going to watch any of those films, and we're going to come back. We've still got 3 games to get through, Graham. 3 whole games and some crap verts, and so we'll see you in a minute. And we're back. We're back to finish off June 1990. Let's waste no time. Straight into the first game. And that game, Graham, is Hot Rod. This is not the this is not the UI from Black Tiger. This is completely different. This is Hot Rod. This is yet another arcade conversion here.
It is.
Another one. It's Sega's Hot Rod. Originally released in 1988 in Japan. It was then released worldwide in 1989, and this was a 4-player cocktail-style arcade cab. Cocktail style means you're looking down on the screen, so you're all still stood around it. The arcade is quite weird. It's like got 4. It's like not quite a cube. It's like a octagon. It's like 4 long sides and sort of thing, and each one stood on the side of the octagon, looking down at the screen. And everyone had a steering wheel, so this was all controlled by steering wheels. It's a car game. According to Jerry Ellis and Andrew Fisher's book Arcade Imperfect, they do mention this one. This was the first game developed for Sega's System 24. So there you go. And in Japan, Game Machine listed Hot Rod on their June 1st, 1988 issue as being the 4th most successful upright cockpit arcade unit of the month. Except it wasn't one of those. God damn it. The home ports for all the 8-bit machines were published by Activision, The producer was Software Studios, and the C64 conversion was handled by Ashley Routledge and David Saunders. Ash and Dave, as they were otherwise known. The demo people, with graphics by Ash, and the music here is by Haroon Tell. So that's quite the team. We've seen quite a lot from, what was the last thing we saw by them? I think it was Gaplus or something, wasn't it? But, good demo coders and Haroon Tell, fresh off the Turbo Outrun and things like that. So it's a very impressive front end here. Very nice intro that replicates the arcade machine very, very well. We get a perspective shot of a street, and in the foreground, we can see the front half of an American police car. Kind of weird. Just kind of sat there. Then from in the distance, 3 cars come burning past, a green, red, and blue car, and the police car, well, it does very little. Just sits there while they all go burning past. A black bar appears across the top, and the title Hot Rod appears in a very impressive fashion. This intro is almost Debo-like, I thought. I guess with Ash and Dave doing it, it comes as no surprise.
Yeah, totally.
So there's a good bit of Haroon Tell music playing as well. It's really good. I think it's replicated from the arcade version, because the arcade version does it as well, and it's a really good version of that arcade front end. So it's really good. It does come at a price though. There is a price, Barbarian, because that price is it takes up the whole of side 1 of the disc.
It does, yeah.
So you watch that and it goes, turn over to side 2. That's where the game is. Oh, okay. So for this review, I did play both the disc version and the Easy Flash version, which is available. So just to say, I'm going to talk most about the Easy Flash version, then we'll get to the disc one as well. So once the main game has loaded in, we get the title screen from the arcade, which means after that really flash front end, which is really cool, we get a black screen with the name of the game on it, and just being asked to insert credits. To be fair, it is exactly like the arcade game.
Yeah.
But it's very dull. We do get another good tune from Mr. Tell. It's that usual kind of bouncy Maniacs tune we've come to expect. It's all right. If you like the Maniacs stuff, you'll probably like it. Pressing fire starts a countdown, and you can actually play this in 1 or 2 player mode. So if you press the fire on the other joystick as the countdown continues, then you'll join in the games, and that's nice. So you can actually play this 2-player. Now, the initial track, so this is a racing game, the initial track is loaded in when we start. So it starts immediately. There's no loading. Once you've loaded that title screen, you press fire, you get the countdown, boom, we're straight into the game. And so what we have here is a scrolling, more top-down version, so looking directly down version of Super Sprint, kind of similar to what we saw in that Run the Gauntlet. I guess that was kind of inspired by this, but more so that Gavin Rayburn game, Rallycross.
Yeah.
Which I now realise ripped this off quite heavily, which I wasn't aware of at the time, because I'd never really heard of this arcade game. I have to say, this is not something that I'd ever seen or played, so I wasn't aware of it. But that Rallycross now, I can go back and go, oh my lord, you just made Hot Rod. There you go. There are only 3 cars in this version, though, compared to 4 in the arcade. The red, green, and blue of the title screen. And so in 1-player mode, you control the red car. We get a count. So we're looking down. It's like looking down a track, and it's a scrolling screen. So the scrolling screen, so the track is bigger than the screen. And we get a countdown of lights that we're all the cars are under, and then the race starts. Controls are simple enough. It has fire for accelerate and left and right to turn the car. It's kind of it. There's nothing else. So as the cars accelerate down the track, corners appear, as they do in these kind of tracks, and we must navigate our way around them and through, just go through the track. Clipping the sides will bounce you back, which is annoying, and stop you and cause you to fall behind. And this will cause issues, more than just losing time, because what happens is the game keeps track of the lead car, even if that car is not you. So the way this game works, you have a finite supply of gas, and that's constantly going down. So the UI at the bottom, I'll come to that in a minute. So that's constantly going down. And getting to the finish line in the game before you run out is all that matters. It doesn't matter if you come first, second, or third. You just got to get to the finish line before your gas runs out. It's pretty much all you have to do. But if you get there first or second, you get more points and cash. I'll come to where you'll need cash in a little bit. The UI at the bottom, when the game starts, it flashes between your score and gas at the start, really fast as well. But again, that's exactly like the arcade game. Everything that's a problem with this game is a problem with the arcade game. Like it's like gas score. It's like, just pick one. Bloody stay with it. But then once you're into the game, it doesn't flicker anymore. It's just got the gas. and that's just decreasing constantly as it goes down. That's really all there is for the UI. The rest of the screen is the scrolling game window. It takes up quite most of the screen, so that's pretty good. Throughout the track, there are gas cans that you can collect by driving over, and you'll kind of need to do this, as otherwise you'll run out of gas in Race 2. We saw this problem in that Gavin Raybear game, Rallycross. Now I understand where that mechanic came from. It's bloody here. So that's quite a problem. Should you fall behind at all, and as the screen scrolls, you may find yourself falling out of view. So you'll be sort of like getting off the screen. And should this happen, you get zapped to the front car, you like dragged up to the front car. And this is at the cost of 20 units of gas, which is quite a lot.
It is.
You know, because it's quite easy to get stuck on the side of the track. And once track 2 rolls around, there are narrow gaps between obstacles, and if you hit them, they cause you to explode on contact, and the game difficulty just goes through the roof. It's just ridiculous because you're trying to control this car left and right, accelerate, you can't really go fast enough. The other cars are zooming ahead. It's just gets very annoying. So, and that's, you know, all this is exactly the same as in the arcade game. So we've seen this before with games like Ninja Spirits, where they've ported the game over and done a good job in kind of porting that game over. Not totally good, but pretty decent. But whereas the arcade game is built upon that 2 minutes of play, get you off, get some more money in, that doesn't really have to happen here because we've bought the game, and just getting crushed and crashed on that second level all the time just was annoying. Should you make it to the end of the race, and when I say race, there are 15 levels in this to race your way through. Now, in the arcade game, that was a continuous track. So there were no multi-loads. You finished the first race and then you sort of zoomed on. You carried on to the next one. You kind of just rolled along into the next one. But between each one, there's a shop that you can go into. Now, here, it's a multi-load. So each track is a load. Each visit to a shop is a load. Next track is a load. Shop is a load. Track is a load. You see what I'm getting at. So you automatically drive into the shop. Now here you can buy such items as better tyres. They improve your road holding and speed. You can buy a bigger engine to increase acceleration and top speed. You can buy bumpers to increase the car's body strength, and wings to improve road holding. You only have a limited time to do this. It's sort of there's a countdown going down, and it's all reliant on the money you have earned during the race, which is, you know, your finishing position. And I think you can only buy one thing at a time before exiting the shop. So once you purchase something, it just drives back out the shop into the next level, and we get some loading. I think that's what happens. And then once you get to the second level, it gets very hard, and you'll probably fail. I did every time because there's like this narrow track between barrels. And so just trying to eke your way through them, like, So if you're playing this on the kart version, it's not so bad. Okay, you just go back. If not, then at least it needs to load the menu and the first level back in. And so you're back into this loading loop, and this all adds to the main issue with the game. It looks nice enough. It's a pretty good looking C64 version of the arcade game with all the tracks, the side details to them and everything like that. It's got the intros, all the screens, the shops. They're all laid out exactly like the arcade game. This is a really good port of that arcade game in those respects. It's really impressive. The main thing it doesn't have from the arcade game is it's just too damn slow to be enjoyable. This is barely Hot Rod. It's more Sunday afternoon pootling around town. It's just really slow. And it's still, even at that speed, annoying to control. I don't know what was wrong with this. I don't know. I had a look at a YouTube version again. Am I playing this at the wrong Hertzman? No, that was. Then I thought I'll check the arcade version. Loaded up MAME, played that. What's the YouTube version? No, the arcade game version is really fast and snappy. This is like
too slow.
It's so slow. Also, it's annoying to control. And if you're in the lead, then because it's trying to fit all the cars on screen, and again, this is a problem inherited from the arcade game, it doesn't show enough of the oncoming track for you to react properly.
No.
And if you're at the back, you get squeezed off screen and lose gas by being zapped to the front. So I don't know. Aside from the speed, these are all issues that have been carried over from the arcade game. The arcade game has its problems. I played it on the arcade game, and it was exactly the same. I was just suffering the same annoyances. So I don't blame the coders here for that. The speed issue, though, is certainly on them, because that's not present in the arcade game. This should be faster. I don't know why it's not faster. It's only moving 3 sprites on screen.
That's right.
It's only the 3 cars, and it's scrolling the screen. I don't know why this is not faster. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. You couple all that with the disc loading, And what we have is another conversion here that's hamstrung by the slow pace of everything, a bit like we saw with Time Soldier. Not as, but worse than Time Soldier. Maybe we were more accepting of this back then. But so then what I did was I went back and had to go with that Rallycross, which is, we said, no problem with that. Whipping, steering around, implemented a better control system as well with that. And I found that much easier and better to play. It still had that same gas problem, but, it felt more enjoyable to play that budget game than it did playing this. If this had been faster in the way the cars moved, and you could, super sprint your way around the corners with a bit sort of inertia, kind of like what you do and you skid around like you're doing that Rallycross, this would have been much better, but it isn't. It doesn't. It's got that sodding multi-load.
Yep.
It could have been. This could have been great because it has all the constituent parts. It just is boring. I just got bored very, very quickly with this. That cover as well. The cover to this game is writing checks this game cannot cash. So it looks like the cover to the film The Wraith. So you sort of front on to a menacing supercar. It's all in blue with lightning and stuff, looking directly, facing directly into the camera. It's like you can see it, and oh my god, it's going to be amazing. And then you get the game. It's like do 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 do. I don't know. That cover should have just been a Honda Civic stuck on a curb rather than this. And just to sort of throw in a reference here, it's Hot Rod, all right, but it's certainly not Cool Beans. I didn't get on with this. I thought this was boring. What score did it get? 70%. That's maybe in 2-player, but it's even I can't imagine it being particularly fun to play. What did you think?
All the same, really. It was just boring. Too slow it was, and the scrolling really annoyed me. So if you happen to make any kind of error, so you just got caught up, there was no way you could really accelerate back into the race. You were always going to be lagging behind, especially if you'd say you did it twice. So you bumps and it knocks you back a little bit, slows you down. So then as soon as you're in catch up, you do that again, and then you're going to get thrown to the front by the auto zoomer. But that has this habit of throwing you in at the most impossible moments anyway. And so you just end up in a spiral from that moment forward when you never really regain control of your vehicle, even at slow speed. The controls are responsive, but not responsive in terms of being fast. So the vehicle turns too quickly for the fact that you're not going very fast.
Yes.
So it just doesn't. So it just doesn't feel right. And then on top of all of that, yes, it's got the nice opening and the music's okay. Although the music sounded a lot like Turbo Outrun to me in places.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
But okay. It's all presentation up the front, and then just not much substance when you get into the game. Everything's tiny. Okay, I get that, but that's kind of the vibe of it, I suppose. But it just leads to a sort of frustrating experience overall. I just found myself getting angry at this thing. Now, maybe it's better in 2-player, like you say. Maybe you can persist with it. The graphics weren't terrible. They were okay.
They've done a good job in replicating the arcade game.
Yeah, and it's something that they basically remake this game later in 1992 as something called Slicks.
Yeah.
So Ash and Dave basically do another version of this with a slight variation with Titan graphics and a bit of a Titan gameplay loop and with music by Alistair Brimble. So they basically re-released this under a different name later down the line. But I found myself getting needlessly frustrated in a game that shouldn't be. But I was, and it often happens in games like this, these kind of top-down, make your way around the track kind of games, race games, I guess. But I found myself getting frustrated for the wrong reasons. In this, I was getting frustrated that it wouldn't stop interfering. and I could never accelerate. It felt like I'd never had any speed. I put the accelerator, it's like, here we go.
Exactly.
Why can't I go faster? Go faster. I want to win this race. Go faster.
And then you buy an engine for at the end of the thing for track 2, and you go fast, and then it's like incredibly narrow, tight corner sort of thing where you don't want to be accelerating.
Yeah,
it's just
exactly.
It's like, oh, that's stupid.
It's just. I mean, it has the trimmings, and it almost gets parts of it right, but and it's never an arcade I'd even heard of or seen. It might be in the arcade club for all I know, and they do have a lot of this kind of stuff. But I wasn't struck on this. I don't really like these particular types of games that much anyway, because I always find the controls do my head in.
Yeah.
For some reason, so I did have hopes for this one, but a game called Hot Rod where you don't go very fast seems very counterintuitive to me. And the cover, like you say, this giant thunderous looking Knight Rider type robot beast type thing on the front looks like that you should go really fast.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's fire coming off the words Hot Rod, for goodness sake. That shouts fast.
Yeah.
But it's not. So it's just a bit of a letdown, really. So, and I think the score, I think that's been a bit generous, really, for what it is.
Yeah.
So no, but the music is good, albeit derivative, but it is good. So go and check it out for that. But, you don't need to load it for that. Just go on Lemon and listen to the music. So other than that, another average arcade conversion. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, that's 3 for 3.
It is.
This week. There we go. That's the first one this part. Let's move along. And at least it's not an arcade conversion.
Yeah, there is that.
It's the best I can say, because, Graham, it's time for you to become Impossamole.
Impossamole. Good old Monty Mole. Did you ever want another Monty Mole game?
No.
You've got one. You've got one now.
We said that about Auf Wiedersehen.
We wished it was, but it wasn't. So Impossamole is another Monty Mole game. Of course, it's from Gremlin. This is developed by Core Design. The musician is Barry Leach this time. Now, Barry Leach can do much better music than this. I'll talk about that in a minute. This got 69% in Zapped. I think that's generous. Anyway, let's just talk about the premise. And by the way, I'm going to preface this by saying the premise for this game is stupid. It was bad enough for our video saying Monty, but the one for this is just off the chart stupid, but I'll go through it. So it says, Monty lay back on his sun lounger and contemplated his situation. His previous adventures had financed these last few years of utter bliss. He had everything that a mole could want. His own island in the sun, more money than a mole could ever spend, paradise. Listening to the clear blue sea lapping at his furry feet, he surveyed his surroundings and saw nothing but unspoiled beauty. In the last few days, thoughts had appeared in his mind. He somehow missed the days of his adventuring. Monty closed his eyes and decided to take 40 winks. Then the sun seemed to dim on his eyelids. Just a passing cloud, he thought. But within seconds, the whole island was shrouded in darkness. Opening his eyes, he saw that the island was covered by one large cloud. From the cloud, rays of light beamed out, which swirled and darted over the terrain as though they were looking for something. He saw a ray of light advancing towards him and felt butterflies erupting into a frenzy in his stomach.
Ooh.
The light settled on his shivering body, smarting his eyes with its searing brightness. Then the voice came, Monty Mole. Monty had been teleported into an alien spacecraft and found himself in the presence of two shadowy figures. Who are you? Asked Monty. Then... Trying to make it more exciting.
I just wasn't expecting it. Caught me by surprise. I was like, oh.
The reply came, You need not know. You are the chosen one. What for? Replied Monty. You have been selected to vanquish the 5 guardians. What 5 guardians? Monty
it's like with
replied.
the presence of John Gielgud.
The ones who stole our sacred scrolls of eternal life, without which our planet will not survive. Oh, that sounds exciting, thought Monty. He thinks in a different voice to how he speaks.
Thinks in Russian.
But how can I defeat these guardians? We will give you the use of our sacred superpowers. Use them wisely, little mole. The adventure begins. Okay.
That ended abruptly.
This premise is over.
God.
That's Monty Mole game. That's it. Monty Mole. So Monty Mole game, right? In this particular Monty Mole game, you have to tackle 5 different worlds. So you've been basically transported into an alien spaceship, and you've got to complete 5 worlds. You can choose 4 of them in any order, but the 5th one is only completable when you have completed the other 4. So you have Klondike Mines, the Orient, Amazonian Forest, Iceland, and then the final level, whatever that's called. I never got to it because I didn't.
Yeah.
So the game starts with a dreary title screen, which is the Impossamole logo done in the Indiana Jones style. Of course it is, because we've not seen that before. With a grey block around it, which makes it look really naff. Really naff, that.
It's not
Don't
good.
like that.
It's not good.
No, it's not. And then it says depress fire to play. Depressing is the right word for this. And then it's time you'll have the music. Now, there is a problem with the music in this game, and that is that it's out of tune.
Yes, it is.
It's out of tune on the tape version, and it's out of tune on the disc version. It was out of tune. Now, if you listen to the version that's on Lemon, it's in tune. So there was clearly an issue with the release of this. Now, I don't know the ins and outs of what happened and why it's out of tune, but I can tell you that you can choose to have sound effects or music on. Now, the music is a remix of Rob Hubbard's Monty on the Run music, which was a really stupid thing to do.
Yep.
So it's like a version of that one, because that is considered an untouchable C64 super classic. It's in the realms of C64 tunes that you don't mess with.
No, you do
Monty
not.
on the Run.
You do not.
Because it is one of the all-time classic greats. And it's certainly, obviously, it's Rob Hubbard as well. So it's in the elite class. You know, there's certain games you don't mess with the sound. You don't do a version of Green Beret unless you know what you're doing, you don't do a version of that.
It's the turning point of the SID chip.
Yeah, it is.
Monty on the Run, because it's the moment when tunes went from Thing on a Spring was a little bit like that, but Monty on the Run was the moment it went, this is what the SID chip can actually bloody well do.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And Barry Leach can do great music and has done in the past, loads of times. So, but this isn't his finest moment, and it doesn't help that it goes out of tune, which means that it becomes a discordant, horrific sound, which is really horrible. Mm-hmm. And it's just it's unbearable. So my advice is, if you're going to replay this, and you probably won't want to anyway, but if you do, turn the music off, because unless you've got the corrected version, and there is one out there somewhere, I couldn't find it, nor did I want to. But if you don't, the music will actually drive you mad, because it goes probably out of tune, not like slightly out. I mean out, like tonally completely horrible. So I'll put the music down to some kind of error in production and say the music actually, when it is in tune, it's all right, but it's still a remix of a much better piece of music. So why do that? Why not just come up with something new and original? Mm-hmm. So you'll choose when you depress the fire button to start, your mission begins, and then you can choose the 4 levels you can choose from. There's 5 little icons in a row, like in a picture frame. It's hard to make out what they are, and they don't seem to really have anything much to do with the actual titles, so what a Klondike mine is and whatnot anyway. But you can choose any of them in any order, and the idea is you go into these levels and you have to complete a series of missions. It's not particularly clear from those instructions, I don't think, what you actually meant to do.
No.
And so I found it so it just say how to play the game. The game is played over 5 levels. You're able to select levels 1 to 4, like I've said. Each level contains food and supplies to help you on your travels. Okay. You may find a friendly shopkeeper. Spend money wisely. Again, it's not telling you really what to do. Weapons can be collected and their strength upgraded when certain items are collected. Each weapon has a time limit for usage. Hidden rooms have been positioned on each level. Every area must be explored. This super weapon says, good luck in this, the first of Impossamole's adventures. The playing tips have been kept to a minimum. The surprises are numerous and need to be experienced. Look out for our friendly superhero and his further adventures. I'd just settle for you telling me what the fuck I'm supposed to do. Because it doesn't tell you. I've got the control. So you sort of have to guess. Now, and what that meant really is that you'll start in, so say you start in the Klondike mines, you'll be presented with oddly coloured, not what you call completely terrible backgrounds. They're just a bit bitty and a bit oddly drawn and rendered on the screen. It is full screen, so it's the whole of the screen in this game, which is quite nice. Mm-hmm. With a tiny little UI at the bottom, which is your health indication. And I think there's a little indication. I'm not sure if that's extras, weapons, or things you have to collect. I don't really know because it's not explained anywhere. Now, first key problem I'm going to specify here before I go into any further is that you have 1 energy bar for the whole game.
Yeah.
So I can tell you that makes this game impossible. It is impossible. I mean, I know it's Impossamole, but it's actually an impossible game. It can't be done. There is no way you'll survive this game with a single life. You would have to put on some kind of cheat. As with all the Monty games, there's an easy cheat somewhere, which I think is to type in a word or something daft. But there is a cheat mode for it. But you'd need it because you will never get through this game. This follows a more unusual route for the Monty games, so it's a bit more like our Wiedersehen Monty, really, a bit less like Monty on the Run. That's to its detriment. So in this, it's a bit more like what's that? Brick Dangerous? Not exactly like that, but kind of more of a sort of a scrolling platformer.
That was core design, wasn't it? Yeah, it's sort of a crap Mario.
Yeah, it's a Crario. It's kind of a crap Mario. So firstly, it's a push scroll. So as you move towards the screen, you'll go forward. The screen will scroll, but you can't go backwards. So you can never go back on yourself, which proves to be weirdly problematic. That's like Mario. But in this, it's kind of oddly problematic because you don't really know what you're meant to be doing. So in that first level, you get, like I said, a very basic UI. You've got this 1 life. You get this oddly coloured background. You'll find there's a bomb right in front of which you can pick up, which gives you bombs to throw. But I can tell you, if you don't do that, because you move the mole around with the joystick and you can jump and make him jump a bit higher with the joystick. Press fire makes him kick. Now, I couldn't find an enemy in this that died with a single hit, not one, which means you will always lose energy for every single encounter you have unless you jump over them.
Yep. And
you can't duck some of the things that are in this game as well. So if you're kicking at them, you're going to lose energy. And so you can't really afford to get involved in anything like that. So you just end up trying to jump past everything and try and collect these various items that appear. Now, there's no real indications of what these items are for, how they're supposed to help you, what you're supposed to collect, or what indeed you're meant to do with them. So I'm guessing you just have to go from left to right, collect enough of the whatever it is. I'm guessing there's something to find on each level, so many things to find. And then when you do that, you'll get to the end and you'll go to the next level to do whatever it is and gather up the things. So this works like a crap Mario. You move the mall, the screen will scroll and there's various platforms and things to climb and jump on. Now, in that particular level, the first level, you get attacked by these little kind of cavemen and people like that. Now, they don't, I say they attack you. They're just kind of all, like in all the Monty Mole games, they kind of just get in the way, really, in this. But everything you touch will take energy off you, and you don't have a lot of it, remember? So anyway, I restarted the game, and I decided to see what some of the other levels look like, because that's how the game principally works. You're wandering around, kind of trying to figure out what the hell you're meant to be doing in an unfun Mario kind of way. Mario is fun because there's fun things going on. You jump up and you knock blocks with your head. You can collect giant like mushrooms that make you get bigger, and there's loads of fun little characters. This is full of dreary, drab characters with real weird color palette choices. Mario is very bright and colorful and dynamic. Now, if you go to the second level of this, it looks a little bit more Mario-esque. Not as much as the third level, but it looks a bit more Mario-esque. So giant, tall trees with long tree trunks. Very Mario style, that, to draw a tree like that in a game like this.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you've got different weapons. In this one, though, you've got characters that just sort of stand there and throw things at you, or things that come alive when you get near them. And you have to jump up the tree branches and try and do it. Now, you've got to do this with such pixel perfect accuracy that it's next to impossible. And then by accident, I pressed the space bar, and you just did this kind of kamikaze crazy super attack. It flew across the screen and just smashed this thing in the face and just landed back. I'm like, what was that? So there's obviously a way of collecting super weapons and triggering them. But I didn't even know I had it. So I guess maybe that's something to do with the indication. I don't know. Anyway, so none of the weapons you have help you in this. So again, all you've got to do is try and make it across from left to right, collecting and climbing up and doing the things. It was principally the same thing with actually marginally worse graphics, but more Mario-esque. The next level is the Amazonian forest. That was, again, even more Mario-like, but it's the same thing. But that one had a really odd arrangement and assortment of energies, from dragon snakes and angry bananas. It was really odd. And then the final level I played was Iceland, which, again, at this point, your Monty Mole sprite is kind of like a grey stain in the background, because they've lost that kind of high-res sprite that Monty Mole was in this game. And for this one, he's been turned into like a medium-res splodge. Now, it animates in a similar way, and it's a similar size, but I'm not sure what the thought process was behind to try and make it look a little bit more lively. It doesn't work. If I put this side by side with something like Genesis does, they're not comparable experiences in terms of the graphics.
No.
And yet they're principally following the same kind of game logic. Anyway, so the idea then is that you're going to work your way through these levels, all these levels, with one life or one energy bar, and pick things up along the way. There's probably bits of food and things that will help you and boost your energy back up again. I don't doubt that. But they're too few and far between, and you will constantly lose energy in this all the time against enemies. You can't help it, because sometimes there's unavoidable things. There's also traps and things that you'll fall into immediately, and just, you'll eventually lose your energy and die. And when you die, it's gone. Back to the beginning of the entire game you go. So you've got to do all this in one life. There's no save points or anything like that. This is one shot. So I think in reality, what they've made was an impossible game, because I don't see how that's possible unless you have to be really, really good at it. Maybe there's some people who are, I don't know. But what I found was this was an unwelcome return to the Monty Mole franchise. Nobody wanted this. Nobody wanted more Monty Mole. By now, you've got Mario, you've got Giant Sisters, you've got games that are like that. Other consoles are out there gaining traction with the very games that this is trying to kind of make a kind of C64 version of. It's way too late for that. It's too late to change the format for Monty Mole as well. If this had been more like Monty on the Run, where the games all had a purpose, he was on the run in that. So he had to sort of go and run, and they all had a direction and a purpose, and there was a kind of driving music that pushed you on. In this, like with Alvida's Monty, you're just meandering around different coloured landscapes, doing nothing, picking things up, moving things around. For what purpose? What's it all for? Where's the adventure? What's the challenge? In the third game, even though I didn't like Alvida's Monty, you had to get the money, didn't you, to buy the island and all of those things. But in this, there's no purpose of it. You've been beamed into a spaceship and they've gone, you need to do some stuff for us. What? Why?
Yeah, why?
And so you've created a reductionist version of Monty Mole. So you've taken the key premise of the game, you've changed the format, changed the colours, changed the sprites, changed the music to a half-assed version. And then to top it all off, you took out the very thing that made the Monty Mole games even vaguely interesting, which was the actual adventure part, and then tried to dress this up in adventurous clothing by saying, the adventure you're going to have is amazing. Don't make any more of these, for God's sake, because this is crap. I didn't like this. Now, it gets a bit of love here and there in Impossamole. A lot of people liking it. Bit of a Marmite game. Some people think it's the best one. I can tell you, categorically, the best one of these is Monty on the Run. Forget any of the others, because that's the one with the best music, the best premise. Yes, you have to choose the right objects at the start, but at least it's got a direction, a purpose, and the music keeps driving you on. That's how it should be. This one, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. Yeah, I was in a colourful landscape, but I'd rather go and play Mario, because at least with Mario, I know that what I've got to do. I know that there's a goal. There's things leading me into the narrative. I don't even know what you would get at the end of this game. I suspect probably some kind of crappy, silly sequence or an image. I don't know. I didn't check it. I didn't like this. I didn't think it was very good. unwelcome return to a character that should have just been left on his island in peace to retire. So I didn't think it was good. It felt like one last try and sort of make a bankable thing out of it. One last go at the cash registers before the C64 is finally put to bed. I don't know if this came out on other formats. It might have done. Probably did. I didn't check into any of them either. This is the home of these games was really the C64, but this should never have been the final send-off for Monty Mole. It's not very good, and I think I'll just stick to remembering Monty on the Run, thanks. What about you?
I didn't like it. I did not like this. Horrible, dated, scrolling platformer, looks ugly, and punishes you at every turn.
Yep.
That's not good. And I've written pretty much exactly, we've had things like Guyana Sisters, and even Terry's Big Adventure.
Yeah, which is better. Yeah,
way better. Now, so we played those, so did anyone actually want another Monty Mole game by this point?
No.
I mean, it's the 90s. The thing with Monty, it was a character firmly entrenched in the mid 80s of England. It was because he came out of like the mining strike, wasn't it? There was this kind of this sort of, it was this English kind of thing. Yeah. And that's what, and then he got caught up and he was on the run, then he was trying to get away and buy this island. It was like this idea of getting away and sort of, the kind of Ronnie Biggs almost style character, it was those kind of English things, that kind of thing. And they were Manic Miner ripoffs to some degree, and Jet Set Willy inspired. There was loads of them at the time, but it was quintessentially English and felt like part of that scene, whether you liked him or not. And at the end of the last one, he buggered off. It seemed it seemed a fitting end to him. It seemed a fitting end. He'd gone off. He'd made his millions and he'd just jetted off to an island. So why dig him up now to tie him to this scrolling horror? I don't get it. And then why would you try and get someone to do a cover of the Monty on the Run music? To remind everyone, I don't know. I mean, irrespective of whether, the original version was horribly out of tune, because when I first heard it, I was like, oh my God. Because I was like, this is Monty on the Run. What, Yeah. And then it was actually, I was like, oh, but okay. It feels like Band-Aid 2000 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Where they try to get you remember the original, they bring in new stuff to improve it, only to miss exactly what made the original amazing. That original piece of music, like I said, it's the turning point in the SID chip. It's everything comes after you. All your big Galway stuff, your own Hugh and Tell. It's that moment. Monty on the Run is the seminal bump. It's the line in the sand where everything comes, the big tunes come after that. It's the first one to really do a big epic score, really, of that caliber. But, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I'm okay. Maybe the Ocean Loader before it, but I think Monty on the Run is obviously way better. But this is a travesty. It's a horror. It's just a horror. I wouldn't have liked this very much, but the music made me really annoyed as well when it was out of tune and it was that Monty on the Run. Don't do that. And I don't get it. I don't get the Monty games are, as we found with all, of Zane and Monty on the Run, sort of multi-screen, flick screen, platforming, adventure, moving around, all that kind of stuff. Jet Set Willy's type thing. Why change it into this nonsense? Just put a different character in it. You don't need, could be anybody. This doesn't have to be a Monty on the Run game. I don't get it. I really don't. It can bugger off as far as I'm concerned. I really hated this. It misses everything. We're not massive fans of the Monty games, but we can appreciate what they were doing and the effort and stuff that went into them. This just seems, I just don't understand. I don't know why I'm angry at a 34-year-old game, but this game made me angry.
Well, do you know the music was described in Zapped as ear-wrenching?
Oh, that's being kind.
It is. How terrible is that, though? I mean, poor Barry, because, I mean, he wouldn't have wanted his music out there like that.
No.
I mean, that's, and it must haunt him a bit, that, because I'm sure, he's done some really good stuff in the past. That is, and the in-tune version that's on Lemon, it's not my cup of tea. It's in its own space as a sort of a homage to another piece of music. It's not bad. It's just not a great thing to do. But at the same time, I feel sorry that game went out there because people listening to that might think, oh, God, he's rubbish. And it's not fair to him that, no. Obviously they cocked up something. They cocked
something up. But I still think it was a massive misstep to do that.
Oh, completely, yeah. But this game was a misstep. It should never have been put out.
No, it shouldn't. Really shouldn't. So there you go. Impossamole. Rubbish. Yep. Let's move along. Still got one game, and hopefully that will drag us up from the dreary depths of average rubbishness. And that game, Graham, well, is it the longest title we've had? It's Escape from the Planet of the Robot Monsters.
One of them.
It is. Well, was it Jack Nicklaus's 18 Holes of Glory Hole Golf or something, or what it was?
Yeah, that's Glory Hole Golf. Goodness me. I don't want to play that.
That's Black Tiger. This week is this week, arcade conversion heavy. It's the fourth 4 out of 5 games were arcade conversions this week. Sometimes they're just coming batches. You wait all year. Anyway, this is Escape from the Planet of the Robot Monsters, originally by Atari in the arcade. We've done this before. It then became copyright Tengen, who licensed it to Domark in the usual labyrinthine way Atari games come to home platforms by Bob walking out the office and going, "Here, Terry, next door in Tengen, can you get this ported?" "Yeah, no worries, Bob, we'll get it sorted." The conversion here was coded by Andy Weir. We've not seen him before. It's got graphics by Mark Patente. He did Tubin and Scramble Spirits.
He did.
And Neil Adamson. And finally, music is by Matt Furness. He's doing a bit at the minute, I don't know. After the arcade, it came out for loads of platforms, this. It's got released on the Amiga, Amstrad, ST, DOS, the Sam Coupe, and the Spectrum.
Okay.
Yeah. No FM Towns, though, or the Jupiter, or anything like that.
Oh, the Sword of Japan. Yeah.
But here we are, the C64 version. I've no idea if there's more story to this than the following. But if there is, I'm not bothered. So I'm very sorry. I went looking, I tried to dig it up, but whatever. According to the back of the box, it says this. This is what I just stopped. I read the back of the box, went, I'm not going any further. So it says this. Lots of beautiful girls have been abducted to Planet X by the evil reptilons. And when I say abducted, I mean, well, yes, exactly. It's a disgrace. And those evil reptilons are downright evil. And that's not all. There's more. Where? Inside, of course. Good luck, men.
What kind of ramblings is that?
I don't know. Okay. Yeah, I was like, no, I don't care anymore. Right. So there's a nicely drawn loading screen to this. I'll give it that. There is a nicely drawn loading screen. But then the main game's got a rather bland title screen. It's got the logo at the top, sort of in front of a planet, but not very good. There's some credits at the bottom. And then we get some actual more plot, where we are told we need to find and rescue Professor Sarah Bellum, transport all the hostages back to the shuttle, and find and destroy the evil reptilons. Okay. Pressing fire starts the game, and we have a single or two-player isometric shoot-'em-up where we have to wander about and shoot robots. Okay, yeah. That's it. There you go. That's it. You can stop listening now. The first thing you'll notice is the multicolored sprites on the isometric background. Isometric single colour background. Sorry. So I think it's never particularly a good look for a game.
No.
You play a blocky red character, and the game takes place in the top 3/4 of the screen. When we start, right behind us, we can see a woman chained to a wall. I presume this is all just like the arcade game. I don't know. I didn't go have a look. You run into them, and it will rescue them. You get some points. They disappear. At this point, and that's part of what you need to do. The controls are 8-way walking. So that's all right. It's easy enough to get on with. It's not like left to turn and stuff like that. It's just point in a direction, you'll walk that way.
Yeah.
So it's the isometric, top right moves you top right, up moves you up. So that's all right. Fire shoots your gun, and Commodore key drops a bomb. Why not space?
Yeah.
Why does anybody choose another button to hit when you have a secondary weapon when the space bar is right there being all massive?
Good question.
I don't get it. So there's that. Your job is to run around, explore the environment. You'll be set upon by many robots, constantly respawning. You have to rescue the multitude of women tied to the walls, climb some ladders. I think these were lifts in the arcade. And I think there are still those lifts in the C64 levels, but you can't do anything with them. They're just holes in the wall.
Yeah.
They've just put ladders next to them for whatever reason. They obviously couldn't do lifts. You can shoot some boxes around to get shields and food for energy and extra weapons and things like that. And then you'll find the portal, like as you move through this level towards the end, to get out. And that takes you basically to a small environment to fight a boss. So this boss, the first one I was this sort of big jumping thing. They're quite big. They jump around. But you just have to keep shooting at them until they die, and you just have to get out of the way so they don't land on you. Then you take it to a new level, which was exactly the same level that I'd just previously done.
Yeah.
We have to do the same thing all over again. I didn't understand it. You shoot some of the robots, it will drop a green orb, which upon collection will slowly, and I mean very slowly, increase your ray power, which I think, because I couldn't find a way to, I thought it was going to be some superpowered weapon, but I think it's just the damage you do with your shots.
Yeah.
But, and here's the kicker, too much shooting will lower it.
Stupid.
So the higher the power, the more damage you do, but the more you shoot it, the less power it does over time, which seems a really pointless mechanic.
Couldn't agree more.
It's like, collect these for high power, but then shoot your butt. I'm going to take it away from you immediately. Well, because it goes down faster than you collect it. I don't get it. Power me up and then punish me for using it. That I don't like that. Don't like that at all. And that's about it. I don't know what else to say about this game. There's really not very much to this that I could find, and I was playing it for a while, aside from wander around and try to avoid using your weapon very much, because you seem to be punished for doing it. You rescue women, get to the end of the level, you have loads of lives, you never seem to die. I could never seem to die properly. I'd die, but I'd come back to life, and I was like, when did this game end? How many lives have I got? What's going on? I didn't understand it. There's some UI based around it. Who cares? It's rubbish. The arcade version and 16-bit versions have an extra bit at the end of levels where you've got to traverse a canal or something, but that's been removed here. So, like I said, there's UI at the bottom which shows your rainbow, which is empty. There's a score, and I think there's a lives marker, but I don't know. Who knows? I couldn't understand it. So that canal section's been removed. It gets very dull. So, because you're just repeating levels, it gets very dull and very repetitive very quickly, this game. The scrolling, well, it's damn bloody annoying.
Yeah, just a bit.
Because it doesn't follow you.
No.
Rather, it's been programmed to scroll to a certain point when you hit a trigger box, and then it stops until you hit another trigger box, which moves it again.
Yep.
So, it's not even like you get to the edge, it's just like, I'll slowly scroll over here. So, you stop moving, and I'm still going to scroll. And now I've been programmed to stop. And then you move off and I'm scrolling again. I don't know. And then, so you hit another trigger box, it moves again. So you can often be really close to a screen edge. Can't see what's in front of you. There's robots everywhere. Why didn't it keep you central? Like most of these games do, if they're going to scroll it around you. Like that zigzag.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or games like that. We've seen, what was the other one? Red Lead. We've seen isometric games do this. I don't know why they've chosen this scrolling technique. It's bloody annoying. The mix of single colour backgrounds, blocky characters and robots, and the scrolling, there's a glitch at the bottom as well. There's a sort of raster glitch at the bottom of the scrolling as well, which is flickering and annoying. This is an unpleasant looking game.
It
unpleasant. And the music's nothing to write home about either. It's very boring. It's a very boring game. Very little in the way of reward or payoff for anything you do. Because what happens is, when you kill the boss, or when you get to the portal, you get like a screenshot of like the portal itself, and then how many women, and sort of fill up the craft that's showing up. So how many you've tried to rescue? They don't look like women. They don't look like humans at all. I don't know what they are. They're just these things that sort of fill up these blocks in this blocky monstrosity of a spacecraft. It ain't very good. It's not very satisfying. It's not very rewarding. This is really dull. I played this for a bit, got through a few levels. I just turned it off. I looked out the window at some cats playing on the fence outside. Way more entertaining. I don't know. You would think with a title like this game has, Escape from the Planet of the Robot Monsters, that sounds really cool. You would think that you'd be creating something memorable. All that. I think the game came with a comic. I think I sort of found a comic of it, some maybe the instructions and all this sort of plethora around it, and maybe in the arcade game it's a bit more fun, but the C64 version is dull.
Yep.
Didn't like it. What did you think?
Same. I mean, the problems I had with this were clear. Now, what I don't understand is, firstly, why didn't they create it like the Amstrad version, which is much more colourful? The C64 version looks like the Spectrum version, which is weird.
Yeah.
So they've clearly taken the Spectrum version and converted it to the Commodore 64, as opposed to doing a proper conversion, or indeed using the Amstrad one. So that was problem number one, is that its colours, the colour palette is ridiculous for a game on the Commodore 64. So I can't pretend to understand why they've done that. Secondly, the scrolling on it is just point blank stupid. That floaty sort of catch-up scrolling, it's a nightmare. And the arcade doesn't do that. The arcade's got you firmly in the centre. It's missing all the stuff from the arcades as well. I quite like the arcade in its own kind of silly logic, because it's, playing for cartoon kicks is always a bit of a laugh. But in the arcade, you've got escalators which take you up to the different levels. It doesn't have any of those, as far as I'm aware.
No,
there's just ladders to climb. The robots come out of the doors in the arcade. They don't do that here. They just kind of meander around. There's loads of those Weetabix robots, and there's not so many of those in the arcade. They're actually more powerful, but in this, they're just everywhere. It's almost like ubiquitous robots just pumping out from somewhere. And then the women that you rescue look like splats on the side of the walls.
Yeah.
Because for some reason, they're in the same colour as the walls, but you're and all the other robots aren't. You're in that kind of weird sort of medium sprites. All tinified. Now, I know the sprites in the arcade aren't huge. I get that. But this is taking it to a whole kind of stupid level. So you end up with an uncolourful version of a game that's really colourful. And the colours, there's only maybe at a push, You've got greys, reds, yellows. These are colours the 64 can do. So I don't see how you couldn't create a multicolour background and then the sprites that are only about a sprite high. This game should have been completely achievable on the C64, but that would have taken effort, which this game has none of, and time, which I'm guessing they also had very little of. So this just feels like they didn't care about this. The Amiga version looks a lot better than this, obviously, and that's clearly where the time and the money was spent. But if you look at the Amstrad one's surprisingly good looking compared to the others. So the Amstrad CPC one, anyway.
Okay, I'll have a look.
So I think this is a great shame. Now, the arcade is a bit one note, I get that, but it does have that kind of cartoon fun about it. This could have had that, couldn't it? Mm-hmm. But instead, you just end up playing a kind of a crappy monochromatic gauntlet variant on an annoying camera floating around, being attacked by crap-looking Weetabix. Well, no, that isn't what I signed up for. So I think this is a great shame. I think the Zapped review is probably very generous, actually. I wouldn't have been giving this anywhere near that. It'd have been in the lower 30s to 40s for me because it's just not very good. It's not very entertaining, and it's just not very fun. And the arcade game is. And I imagine some of those other versions probably are. At least the reason it looks like it does on the Spectrum is because it's a Spectrum. There's no excuses for this looking the way it does on the C64. It's an abomination, and it's just crap looking. So no thanks. I don't think I'll escape from the Plant the Robot Monsters for today. I think I'll find an alternative version. So no. No good. Yeah. Nope.
No good. There you go. There you go. That's it. That's June done. That rounds off our rather average Tiny Sprite episode.
Tiny Sprites.
Tiny Sprites. Because what did we look at? Well, we looked at Time Soldier.
Tiny Sprites.
But was probably the pick of the week. Maybe, probably.
Yeah. It was out of that lot, yeah.
Yeah, probably was. Black Tiger. Tiny Sprites.
Yeah. And a veiny cock. On the UI, which has ruined it.
And then Hot Rod. Well,
less said about that, the better.
Yeah, Impossamole. Less said about that, the better.
Yeah.
And Escape from the Planet of the Robot Monsters. A game with a title like that should never be boring.
Nope.
But somehow life found a way.
Life found a way. Yeah. Well, making all of the isometric colours one colour. That'll do it. That'll do it.
Indeed.
How can we make this colourful game boring? Make it one colour. That'll do it. Does it every time.
Absolutely. Can we have two colours? No. Yeah, you can. No. Blue and black. Black's not a colour.
Black's the absence of colour. I know. Off you go. Off you go.
What this game is. This game will make you question the infinity of time.
It does.
There were some games that we didn't cover, obviously, because we've looked at them before in the budget range. Those games that we looked at this week, you had Parallax for £3.
Excellent.
That's a bargain.
That is a bargain.
Dragon's Lair for £3.
That's good for £3.
That's not bad for £3.
Rock hard, but good.
Yeah, Head Over Heels for £3.
That's good for £3. Really good again.
Yeah, Slap Fight for £3.
Another good one.
That's really good for £3. That's a good shooter, that is. And Hopping Mad for £3.
Yeah. So go at this time. Don't look at any of the games we've looked at the main section. No. Just go and spend your money on that. Go and get Parallax or Head Over Heels or something.
God, for £15, you could have Parallax, Dragon's Lair, Head Over Heels, Slap Fight, and Hopping Mad. That's better.
For the price of Escape from the Planet of Robot Monsters, you could buy any three of those other games.
Yeah,
you could have had Head Over Heels, Slap Fight, and Parallax.
Yeah, that's going to keep you going for a while.
Yeah,
keep you happy as well. Yeah, there you go. All right, there you go. That's the games. Right, we have a crapvert to look at.
God, there's a lot going on that, isn't it? Jimmy's face. Save your screams until you see its face.
This is Flimbo's Quest. Now, I know the game is quite well regarded. I'm quite well aware of the game, but the crapvert is just off. It's off the chart. Crazy.
Somebody didn't know when to stop, did they?
No. So we've got our hero Flimbo in the middle, which is a little guy with a crazy face, with a hat on that says F. Face. And do you want to try to describe what's around it?
Well, I think what this is this is a game advert designed by committee. So somebody at some point has gone, well, what you need is a kind of a blue creature climbing out of a drain. And then what about the evil dinosaur? Oh yeah, whack him. Any dragons? Stick a dragon on the right. So what you've got is Flimbo in the middle, and he's surrounded by, I'm guessing, characters from the game.
Yes.
All looking at him. There's a 3-horned ogre with a club behind him. There's a 1-armed worm creature on the wall next to a dragon. To the left of him, there's a red elf, a Tyrannosaurus, a blue, I don't even know what that is, goblin thing. Above that, there's another one of the worm creatures, I'm guessing a worm, with big eyes. Next to him is like an angry-looking ant. There's like a wall. There's a wall to the left and right. In the background, there's some kind of castle at the wrong angle on a mountain. I can't. It's so much going on in this. It's like the ground strewn with love hearts, coins, and light bulbs. Or is that a potion? Is that a potion? Maybe it's a potion.
Who knows?
What the hell is going on? What's it the quest for? I think it's the quest for art direction.
What there's the left, and there's text on the scroll as well. It says, take one innocent character, Flimbo, add a very broken heart, a pinch of heroism.
That's heroin.
A pinch of heroin. And I can't read this very well. And there's one delicious damsel in distress.
Sprinkle a host of cameo roles featuring a deranged professor's genetic mutations. And you would be mixing the ideal ingredients of a cartoon-style adventure game per excellence. And
then it says, Flimbo seriously determined, but oh so seriously cute.
It's not cute, though.
It's terrifying.
It's a pointy-chinned demon with huge adult hands on a tiny elbowless child's body.
And eyes that would make an anime drawer scared.
It would, yeah. It's got no eyebrows. Where are his eyebrows?
They're hidden by his cap. He's
got no knees, he's got no elbows, but he's got man hands. It's really off-putting.
Yeah, is that a light bulb on the floor behind him as well?
I said, is it a light bulb or is it a potion that's been tipped over? I
thought it was a light bulb.
Why is there sort of a hook shackle in the background? It's almost like it's got a quasi-Hellraiser vibe about that.
Actually, we've not noticed the sort of short-circuit robot up there where the hook is.
Oh, it's a robot, isn't it? It's right. I thought it was like a chain on end of a sort of a crane. But it's not. It's a robot.
There's a robot with hanging a chain up there. I don't know.
And by the way, these are all anatomically challenged. These creatures that have been drawn.
Yeah.
No, so there's lots of smoothening going on some of them. Some of them have been over smoothened. The dragon looks like the dragon from the last Fight of the Dragons, by the way. There.
Hey, we're in.
We're in. It looks like that one. It does like the big red one in that.
And what do you think to the logo?
Why have they drawn it in toothpaste?
Yeah, I don't know. One's in toothpaste and one's in ketchup.
Oh, yeah, ketchup or spaghetti. It's ketchup, yeah, so toothpaste and... I don't know, why do it like that?
It's ketchup squeezed out of those bottles you used to get in Wimpy. Those red ones with the tomato, green tomato thing around the top bit.
I am not a fan, Adrian, of balloon writing as a typeface. I hate it, in fact. I'll go as far as to say I hate it. And that's what that is. That if you just put little stalks on that, those would be balloons. If you just altered the height slightly of each one, so they would look like kind of floating kind of vibe, that would be a balloon font.
It would be.
And no, I'm not having it.
I didn't think you would.
I hate balloon writing. It reminds me of the kind of thing that, whenever you were asked to draw a logo at school when you were even in your earlier years, there's always one clown in the class that drew the bloody balloon logo, the balloon writing. It's always one of them. Nobody sat there and drew a perfect serif font or a sans serif font, and just carefully thought about typesetting. It was always balloon writing. And even now I see it sometimes when you would go to the pub or one of the local pubs, if somebody's decided they're going to do their own little menu or welcome thing, they do it balloon writing all the time. Stop doing balloon writing. Ban it. Hate it. Hate it with a passion.
So there you go.
And is that apostrophe in the right place? I suppose it is, isn't it? For Flimbo's quest. It's the quest. It belongs to Flimbo.
Quest. I'm guessing he's Flimbo.
Whereas the F on his hat it must stand for something.
Yeah, it must stand for Flimbo. The no need, no elbowed, large-handed, massive-eyed freakoid.
Yeah, with the pointiest tiny chin. The tiny, tiny chin. Why did they draw it like that? Why?
I don't know.
It's not cute.
No.
It's not, it says, oh, so seriously cute. It's not. It's got a tie and shirt on as well. It's weird. Weird, that.
Yeah. It's not
Jimmy
good.
Cranky. If a Jimmy Cranky could be made into a cartoon, it'd be that.
Yeah, it actually, do you know what it reminds me of a little bit? It actually reminds me a little bit of a sort of a very, very early iteration of the main character from Braid.
Yeah, is that the puzzle game?
Yeah, the Rewind Time one. Yeah, the Jonathan Blow one. Yeah, it's kind of similar to that. It's kind of similar in
Thank
style.
God it hasn't got that in it. Goodness me.
No, it hasn't. There we go.
Look at that nose on that three-horned ogre.
It's a bulbous snot drop.
And he's got moobs. Why did they go to that level? They don't need to do that. They don't need to put shaded moobs on any character.
No, and I wonder what in his cap's hiding on that.
Yeah, and
ogre.
you notice, by the way, the ogre, you notice his shoulders are the wrong way round. Because his arm's bending backwards in the wrong way. Because that's not how arms work.
That T-Rex on the end's going, hey!
Why is it even there?
Hey!
That's lazy, isn't it? Dragons, worms. Oh, shove a T-Rex in it. I was expecting there to be a monkey in this, by the way. I'm disappointed.
It's just in the background, yeah. The monkey from Gothic and Crackdown.
Yeah, should be there.
He should be. Oh, he really should. There we go. That's the most. The game's supposed to be very good, though, so we'll see. Hopefully it'll turn out all right. Okay, we still have another one. And this, not technically a video game advert, but the birth of the sort of premium rate phone lines has finally hit the magazine Zapped, Commodore, CMVG, which is where I found this. But this advert is promising a guide to girls, Graham.
Dear.
And it's various 0898 numbers you can ring. And Graham, you can find out how do you score at snogging.
Oh, goodness.
So do you think you're hot stuff when it comes to tongue sarnies? You can find out who is your ideal girl, find out exactly which girl is your perfect partner.
Oh dear.
How to tell if a girl fancies you. We know you're just dying to know the answer to this one. And finally, how do you rate at dating? Do you turn your dates on or off? Find out the answer now. And then below this, there's a sort of a skinny type guy and a sort of another girl with a sort of ponytail pigtail, and they're about to kiss. And it's for tips on girls, kissing, flirting, chatting up, and much more crucial stuff. Well, you can dial all these 0898 numbers, which are 25p at cheap rate and 38p at all other times per minute.
Yeah, and they were designed to keep you on there for a minimum amount of time.
They were.
So this is the birth of when adults were having very difficult conversations with their sons, daughters, significant people in their lives, because they'd just got their phone bill and they'd seen that it'd gone from the usual amount to 280 quid.
Yeah. I thought you were going to go, chat about the birds and the bees, but it's actually an important conversation about phone bill, phone usage.
Yeah, exactly.
664 303. I'm going to ring it. What is this? So, do you think you're good at snogging? Barry.
Yeah. Hey, you. And I mean, the thing is, this was starting to be everywhere, and these are the kind of the soft versions, but they got a lot worse.
Oh, absolutely.
And the minute the rates went through to crazy amounts. I mean, and I imagine that some people got sort of astronomical bills at this point, because we weren't ready for them, were we? The world.
Having worked in, after I finished university and needing a job, having worked in call centres where these were sort of being monitored later for a bit, I can tell you some eye-watering stories of amounts of money that people got charged. The highest I ever saw in a month was £11,000.
What? Obviously, he was really crap at snogging. It
wasn't these. It was a bit later, and it was to, I don't know if you remember Quiz TV.
No, where people would ring up and try and get through to the TV. Yeah.
So it was Quiz TV, and they were a quid. Every call was a quid. So you had to listen to a message to tell you whether you'd been successful. Now, the first thing it did say to you was, "Oh, you've not been successful this time. Please try again." Then it had a further message, blah 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 blah, where it finally said, "Oh, you've been charged £1 for this," but that was right at the back end of the message. So people going, you've not been successful, hang up. You've not been successful. So whereas these kind of things were charged per minute, Quiz TV ones were £1 a go.
Oh my
so sometimes people were hitting them like 15 times a minute.
Whoa. Wow.
So some people were going like 15 quid a minute times 60.
Ouch.
They were doing it for some of this one we saw was going for about 4 hours solid trying to get through.
Oh my goodness me, that's terrible.
So I thought this was interesting. This is the birth of all that, and I just thought it was interesting that they're targeting, kids in these computer magazines. We talk about shady business practices, and you probably know kids that are playing video games. We were there. At the age of 13, 14, you feel very, 14, 15, buying these magazines. You're awkward around girls. So you are prey to this. It's
absolutely
dreadful.
And then look at the line there. You must get your parents' permission before you dial. That never happened.
No. But again,
you're going to go to your mum and dad, go, Dad, do you mind if I use the phone to ring how I rate at dating? You can sod off. I'm getting the phone taken out.
Yeah. But notice how it's right at the bottom. It's the last thing you read.
Yeah, exactly that. Oh, they knew what they were doing. I mean, goodness me. I mean, I have to say, I've never rang any of them things. I haven't. I never got suckered in, but I can imagine people can easily fall into the trap, especially if they, because they up the ante on this. These are like I say, the soft ones. They got a lot worse and a lot more expensive, and people were getting really crazy scams. Really, they were getting scammed.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
This was before it was regulated as well. So properly regulated. So goodness me, terrible.
Yeah,
look at that. Would that attract anybody? Goodness me.
This is the second month I've seen these in the magazines when I'm looking at the adverts. So
wouldn't it be weird if they were still going? You rang that one now, and there was just some really old guy on there going, okay, you want to your ideal girl? Let me just find my script. What's your name?
Haven't I spoken to you before? 84 years ago.
Adrian? That's not Adrian.
Did you ever find Martha? I told you she was your perfect girl. I told you then I don't know anyone called Martha.
According to my papers, you scored a 7 when you snogged last time. Have you got any better? How are your tongue, Sarnies? Get off them. Click.
I've been charged £17 for that. God damn it.
God, they changed the rules.
I need to have a conversation with myself. It's my phone now. I'm taking it out.
I'm angry at myself. I'm not paying my own bill.
I'm getting rid of it.
You can pay your own bill. I am paying it. It's mine. I've gone full Green Goblin on myself.
How do you score at snogging yourself as the Green Goblin? Very good, thank you very much.
Yeah. Brilliant. You would say that. Shut up.
I know I would. Why would you? Who said that?
The trail cannot be countenanced, remember? Oh, yeah, sorry, I forgot about that. Spider-Man's in it. Oh, hang on a minute. You still haven't told me how good I am at snogging.
I don't know.
Get off the phone.
Oh, dear. What are you doing, Harry? Anyway, that went places.
Well, we could take it to the Green Goblins using that service. I like it. I like that.
But if you want to know how you score at snogging, please ring our chat line and we'll tell you.
So if we've raised any issues for you, if you're a supervillain and you're finding yourself addicted to phone lines in the 80s, we can give you this phone line to ring. It's a free one, though.
Yeah, absolutely. There you go. A guide to girls for the Green Goblin. Oh dear, right. We've got some charts. Let's do the charts after that. This is from CMVG. Let's do the countdown from 10.
Okay.
Right. Compose myself. At number 10, down from 3, is Ikari Warriors.
Okay.
Straight in at number 9 on the Kicks label is Bionic Commando.
Very good.
Down to number 8 from 4 is Rainbow Islands.
Okay.
Platoon climbs up from 12 to 7.
Good on budget, that.
1943, another, that's not very good, was it? That goes from 10 to 6. MiG-29 from Codemasters.
Still haven't come across that yet, have we?
I think so. That goes from 7 to 5. Boogie Boy down from 2 to number 4. IK Plus climbs 2 places to number 3, from number 5. Fantasy Dizzy.
Oh, God, another one.
Is that like a medieval version of the song?
With more egg, I suspect.
Probably. That's straight in at number 2. Still holding tight at number 1, though. Paperboy.
This is it. That's basically all budget releases, barring a maybe 2 in there, isn't it? 1 or 2, maybe 1.
The Rainbow Islands.
Crazy.
Everything else is cheap. Right, going down from number 11 is Batman the Movie.
Egg.
4 Soccer Sims is at number 12.
Dog egg. Gone up.
It has. Thomas the Tank Engine at 13.
Good old Thomas.
Ghosts and Goblins. His favourite food is chips. Ghosts and Goblins at 14. Arkanoid at 15. Rockstar at 16.
Okay.
World Champions at 17.
What?
Who knows?
Okay.
Just World Champions. Knight Raider.
Okay.
Sounds like one of those Sherilyn Fenn films. At number 18. At number 19 is Wonder Boy. And down to 20 is Future Bike Sim.
That's the most boring title for a game we've come across yet. Future Bike Sim. Oh, okay. You didn't put much effort into that one, did you?
Why
really?
is it futuristic?
It's got square wheels.
It's made of neon. Keep going. Oh, I'm reading in the basement.
Why did they use the word simulate? I suppose they've got room for that, but they've got more characters, but then they just have to have simul. No.
Simul?
It's rubbish.
Yeah, who knows? Anyway, that's it. That's your chart. Let me have a look what we got next week. Because we start, what do we start? We start July, don't we?
July, yeah. The big July.
Okay, so we've got 14 games on the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
So it's a chunky lot. So we've got Blood Money.
Okay.
Die Hard.
Okay.
It's Italy 1990 and World Cup Italia 90.
Oh, right, okay.
Football double bill. Wizard Willy.
Okay.
Don't know. Defenders of the Earth.
Yeah. Master of magic spells and
it's finally here. Mandrake. KGB Super Spy.
Right.
What else we got? Ollie and Lissa 3.
Okay.
Super Tank Simulator.
Oh, no.
Why is it super? It's neon. Keep going. I'm reading in the basement. Dynasty Wars.
Oh, God, okay.
Graveyardage. Don't know if I've typed that correctly.
That's right. So maybe it's a hand egg game.
Yeah, maybe it is actually. World Championship Boxing Manager.
Oh, no, that's a thingy one,
that sounds
isn't
like
it?
cult.
It's a cult one.
Blinky's Scary School.
Okay, Blinky.
Blinky. And finally, F-16 Combat Simulator.
Oh.
I'm giving you that one.
I thought we'd seen the end of them.
What's the bet? And it's mind you, it might not be. It's got simulated. It's 15 quid. It's going to be heavy manual and slow vectors.
Probably, yeah. It's going to be not as good as the Amiga version, no doubt.
Yeah, probably, yes.
Okay.
So that's what we've got coming up over the next couple of weeks. For July. Wait. Well, I mean, it can't be worse than, well, I don't know, look at some of those scores. It seems pretty average.
Yeah, average. Dry June leads to dry July.
Yeah, true. So there you go. If you want to aid us on our quest to keep going through this lot as we power through the back end of the C64 life, you can do that. You can join up and sign our Patreon if you want. That is at patreon.com/zapped-to-the-past. It's £1 for just to sort of, chuck us £1 each month, and we thoroughly appreciate that. Or you can get the full fat experience with access to the Discord, get your episodes early and advert free, join us on all the sort of special episodes we get when we ask for sort of your input as well and that kind of thing. And that's price of a pint of beer or something like that. Alternatively, you can buy us a Ko-fi at kofi.com/zapped-to-the-past. You can leave us a review, which is always nice to get. You can, rate whatever on Twitter, join us on Twitter or Facebook, come and say hello, things like that. You can buy stuff with Zapped to the Past on it from zappedtothepast.shop, and that's greatly appreciated as well.
It certainly is.
Yeah, I think that's about it for this episode. You got anything you wish to add, Graham, from the month of June?
No, I'm kind of glad it's over, to be honest with you. Lots of disappointing averages with some utter travesties. It's not been a great month, has it?
Not great.
So,
no.
I mean, there's been maybe a couple of little things here and there, but that last 5 games, just not none of them really amazing, are they? Particularly so.
Not really. No.
There
we go.
Okay.
So I think on that note, let's call it a day. So as ever, I have been Adrian Mills,
and I have been Graham Raddings,
and you have been listening to Zapped to the Past. And I'm going to ring a number to find out how I score at snogging with the Green Goblin. And we'll see you again next week. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Zapped to the Past podcast. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the world of Commodore 64 games, as well as the music, films and TV from around the 1980s, driven, of course, by the issue of Zap 64 magazine published at that time. We will return with a whole new batch of games and stuff to talk about next week. Until then, if you want to listen to or download previous episodes of Zapped to the Past, and why wouldn't you, they can all be found on our website at zappedtothepast.com, as well as being available on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Deezer, Audible, Player FM, and, well, pretty much anywhere where we can upload them. By the way, we do always love to hear from our amazing listeners, so if you'd like to contact us about anything in the podcast or beyond, you can do so by emailing us at zappedtothepast@gmail.com. We're also active on Twitter under @ZapTothe, as well as Facebook, Instagram, and most social media platforms. Just search for Zapped to the Past and you'll find us. Oh, and if you like the podcast and what we're doing, please do like, share, review, rate us. It really helps. Something, apparently. The Zapped to the Past podcast is written and produced by Adrian Mills and Graham Raddings, and recorded at Flaky Bits 2.0 Studio. All opinions expressed are those of the writers, and while we indeed love Zap 64 magazine, the Zap to the Past podcast is not affiliated with it in any way. Stay safe, see you next time, and remember, we play these games so you don't have to.